now, according to OBS. Hooray. I think. Yeah, there
Yep,
we are. I see us.
I see us. We did it.
Did it.
Hooray!
Yay. You guys, we did it. We're here. We're at the end of 2019.
2019's finally over.
Happy New Year.
16 days into January.
Oh my god.
We found the end.
What a shitty year that has been for me, but I mean, game-wise it was okay. Just in general, it was kind of a weird year last year. Actually, you know what? Whatever.
Everyone, I feel.
Game-wise, it was still a weird year, I will say. There was some good in it, for sure, but weird year for me, game-wise.
It's like this is the pre-transition year, so this is the weird year for everyone.
Yep, for sure.
Because people are like, here's all the good stuff we want to release. Oh, we're gonna delay it. That's weird. and now it's like, oh, we're delaying everything again.
Yep.
But it's because we don't want to crunch. Thank God.
Yeah, at least it's a good change in the industry for sure. So yeah, we're gonna do the game of the year thing. As you can tell, Sean is stepping a little bit back on this one, mainly because he's sick, getting over the flu or whatever.
Yeah, I had the flu earlier this week.
Same here.
I've been
Thanks
fine.
for sending it over the internet.
You're welcome. No, I don't. Everyone that I know just got fucking wrecked by it. It's messed.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of coworkers came back from like CES, and I think they brought it with them.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Okay. This is going to be a long episode, so for anybody who doesn't know how this works, we're going to go through a variety of topics, and I'll name them out in a second here. We're going to give our top 3 in each of those. As long as we had 3, whatever we have is generally accepted, though. Then we're going to go through a top 10, and these will all be punctuated, of course, by the community stuff that we took earlier last month and tallied up and all that stuff. So yeah, the topics we're going to be going through is the 20XX Game of the Year. This is a game that came out in any year that we played a lot of or had some fun with, or was
any year that wasn't 2019 or 2018.
That wasn't the year before, exactly, because there's another one, another category called last year's Game of the Year for 2019. So 2018's 2019 Game of the Year. Which that specifically is stuff that maybe carried over, maybe we didn't get to in time, and then we played it in 2019 and we're just like, damn, this might have been on the list or something for had we played it in 2018. Then we're going to get a little pessimistic, a little cynical, and talk about disappointing games, what disappointed us that came out this year, and for a variety of different reasons perhaps. But then we're going to pump it back up with games that surprise us. Maybe just we didn't see them coming, or maybe we didn't know that they were coming out this year and they kind of just hit us harder than they were meant to or something. Just any reason whatsoever, basically. Then the audio award, which is still kind of a newer edition, and we're still trying to work around. This is a pretty open topic where we could just say like what soundtrack we liked or which one had the best audio design or whatever. No real rules. It just has to be an audio related thing specifically for the game. Then we're going to talk about our TDP Plus Game of the Year. So this is a game out of the pool of TDP Plus games that we did from Patreon as just kind of what one we liked the most out of all of those, or which one maybe we thought made a fun episode or fun discussion. Any real reason why. Basically a game of the year for just a select pool, essentially. Then we'll go down our top 10, starting from 10 going down to number 1, where we'll go in-depth discussion about each game in our list and why it's in there, what we liked about it. And then we'll follow it up with some honorable mentions, stuff that is all, as we consider it, number 11 out of the top 10. Just for some reason didn't make it.
Or just something we wanted to give like a shout out.
Yeah.
That didn't fit anywhere else.
Yep. Then we're going to wrap it up with our pile of shame, which are games that we wish we had gotten to that we just didn't for whatever reason. And we will finish off the episode completely by going through our predictions from 2017 from 2018 to 2019. And then we'll make predictions for 2020, even though we're kind of
that'll be fun. Already. New consoles.
It's going to be weird.
That'll be fun. Yep. And it should be noted, we're not making like a definitive list for top-down perspective.
No.
If this is your first time, we make individual lists because we rarely play all the same games. It would just make no sense.
Right.
So each of us are going to have our own set of lists for each one of these categories.
Yeah.
Right.
If there's anything that's high up enough that we all seem to agree on, we usually kind of say it's the game of the year for the podcast, but that's a rare occurrence.
It's rare. We don't plan for that. Yeah.
Right. All right. Let's start it off open and easy, doing the 20XX game of the year. So any game that came out in any year that wasn't 2018 that we played a bunch of in 2019. Or 2019, of course. I figured that would go without saying, but you're right. I should say that.
Right.
Sean, let's start with you. What's your third entry into the 20XX game of the year?
All right. I don't actually have a third one.
Okay, John, what about you?
I do. Lords of Thunder for the Sega CD and the TurboGrafx CD. This is a shmup with a phenomenal soundtrack.
This is John's category. I'm just going to say.
I love this.
Yeah, kind of is.
This is
John's
where I shine. 2019's 20XX game of the year. That's what we should call it from now on. Brought to you by John Wheeler. Presented by John Wheeler.
Yeah, Lords of Thunder, difficult shmup, incredible soundtrack, and promoted by Tony Hawk before he was known as Tony Hawk. So it's got a good pedigree as it is. Just a good, fun, challenging game. I actually beat it for the first time last night on stream.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. But I've been playing it a bunch previous year, so it just kind of worked out.
Nice. Cool.
Yeah, no, highly recommend it.
All right. My number 3 is Terraria, because every year I get into that game real hard for like a week or two and probably like lose sleep over it, and then I put it down for the year. So that's just the thing that I do now with friends. Sean, what's your number 2?
I don't have a number 2.
Wow.
I knew it. I knew it.
Okay. John, what's your number 2?
Mine's Dragon's Crown. Beat 'em up for the PS3 and PS4. Excellent 4-player beat 'em up. Basically, if you like the Dungeons and Dragon beat 'em ups that Capcom did years ago for the arcade, it is an excellent continuation of those. The art style is very unique and stands out, and the gameplay is really solid. Everyone plays fairly differently from everyone else. The only downside to the game really is the fact that you need to play 5 hours of it offline before you can play online, but there's at least a lot of content after that to justify it.
Sure.
But it still kind of sucks to do, but yeah, also a great couch co-op game.
Yep. That's a great game for sure. My number 2 is Rainbow Six Siege. Still one of the best shooters on the market, updated regularly enough that I am usually hearing about it at least every month about something new that's being added or something upcoming, and I jump into it regularly with friends still. Still one of the easily my favorite shooters of all time. All right, let's get Sean in on this. What's your 20XX game of the year?
I expected him to say you again does not have anything.
So I went through all the podcast notes of last year, seeing what I played.
Yeah.
And I don't believe any of them were from before 2018 or 19. I could not find anything. Nothing stood out. I don't have an entry this year for 20XX. I think it's mostly because I didn't play through an Ace Attorney game, because I feel like that was been like I just put one of those for the last like 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Fair enough, I guess.
There you go.
All right. What's your 20XX game of the year, John?
Bangai-O for the Sega Dreamcast. That is just a ridiculous, hellish like shmup, all based around like countering and just kind of taking all the attacks that are being sent at you and throwing them right back at your opponent. It's just a really weird game too. The translation is super shaky, but like also super goofy. It was just a really fun experience going through. Some of the stages were absolute hell to get through, like stupid difficult, but like the weird ass charm of everything and just the quick pick up and play nature of the game made up for it.
Cool. Okay, my 20XX game of the year again is Dungeons and Dragons. A few hundred hours of that with I guess 5 other people this year. That's still one of the best games. I mean, just that you can play in general, and the fact that they have stuff online to make it easy and free for people to play with people around the world and friends wherever they are just makes it continuously one of the best things you can do if you're able to schedule 5 or 6 people all at the same time, which is getting harder and harder every year we get older to do. But
You say again? Is this what you said last year? Because I
Yeah.
don't remember. Oh, okay.
Yep. So yeah.
All right. And then what is the community's favorite game from not the last 2 years?
All right. I put this in a separate doc. So the 20XX community game was Mario Odyssey by a large margin.
No, that's a good choice. Yeah.
Right on. Good game.
Yeah. Was there a reason? Like, did that come out with something this year specifically? Or is it just people?
No, it was last year. It had that Luigi DLC.
Maybe it like went on
balloon hiding?
sale, or
The
people
balloon
found it for
thing.
cheaper, or maybe people
Probably.
finally
I
just
don't
bought
know.
it because of that. Like
That was
deal
also
Nintendo
2 years
did.
ago it came out. Wait.
Yeah,
Yes,
20
that's why.
came out
That's what lets it
2017,
come in.
didn't it?
It's 2 years ago.
yeah. But
Years
maybe
ago.
with that deal where like spend $100 get 2 vouchers, people started picking it up or something, because it was pretty overwhelming.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
So
Maybe.
yeah, cool. All right, let's get a little more recent. 2018's Game of the Year for 2019, or last year's Game of the Year. I have 3 here as well. Sean, do you have 3 for this one?
Yeah, I do.
All
I
right.
don't.
Oh, really? Okay, do you have 2?
I only have 2.
I can start this time. I can finally do some talking.
You and me will do one, and then we'll do a round with John.
Yeah. So my number 3 game is Hades
Ooh.
from Supergiant Games. I don't play a ton of this game specifically because it's still in early access, and I don't want to like get my fill of it and move on before it's at its like best or 1.0 or whatever. So I'm still kind of waiting for it to come out. But every few updates, I check in and play a round or two, and that game is just so well designed. It's so good to look at. The music's real great. The voice acting's awesome. The upgrades, like everything about it is just a really well polished game. And I enjoy watching like the development stories on NoClip and seeing behind the scenes with that. That's always a lot of fun as well. So just waiting for Hades to kind of fully come out so I can dive deep into that. But for now, I'm still having a good amount of time with it.
Cool. My number 3 is Frostpunk. This came out on Game Pass for PC just like last week. Installed it because people had told me I should try it out, and I've been meaning to try it out for a long time. Finally did this week, and I couldn't stop playing. I was streaming a little bit of it. It got annoying because people came in and were just like, why isn't he doing this or whatever? So I was like, fuck these people. So I went offline and played it for like another 8 hours. So yeah, that game is fucking amazing. It's really, really good.
It's also on the console version of Game Pass as well. I have it installed.
Just this like weird survival mechanic of like dealing with the cold and kind of upgrading your little colony to become a city, and dealing with the problems that you like, dealing with the basic problems of finding food and shelter for everybody, and then like finding survivors to help like build this economy and whatever. Not to mention the people side, where some people just get pissed off at you randomly sometimes, and they're just like breaking off into their little subsection of people that want to go back to London because you're full of a bunch of people that left London trying to find somewhere safer to live. And then they start like causing like little riots and stuff that you have to deal with. And then you have to decide, are we going to be like a more peaceful nation, or like am I going to have to start hiring some people to be guards and like really putting like boots against necks now because they're causing a bunch of shit. And it gets really fucking crazy. There's a story going on in it, and every time I've like done a new run of it, I've tried different stuff and gotten better as a player at it rather than the game get easier. And there are different like difficulty things you can change after you unlock some stuff as well. So that game is just absolutely amazing, and had I played it in 2018, it probably would have been somewhere on my Game of the Year list. Okay, Sean, number 2.
My number 2 is Red Dead Redemption 2. I played through this primarily at the beginning of the year for like a solid month or two, since it is extremely long. And I just had a really fun time with that story, with that game. The performances are great. I still remember several of those cutscenes based on the performances alone. I'm not like the biggest Red Dead fan. I don't like think about Red Dead 1 that much. I wasn't super excited for 2. But 2's storytelling just kind of hit me a lot harder and stuck with me more. And that's just like a gorgeous game. I had a lot of fun with it, and it was a good time just like jamming through it in like a solid block in the beginning of the year.
Cool. John, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Smash Ultimate. Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna be too far interested in the game after like a couple months in the game, and it just kind of keeps bringing my attention back. I think it's because the DLC character picks have honestly been pretty fun so far.
You just love Byleth so much.
I mean, let's not start that discussion because I think people are still sore about that. But no, like Terry was a great addition, Banjo-Kazooie is a great addition, etc. Like they keep adding little things that just keep people's attention. It's still fun to play. And the little things they added, like Stage Builder and like all the weird modes that my friends have made, have honestly just kept it in my mind a lot more than I expected.
Cool. Okay, my number 2 was Ashen. Game.
Oh yeah, Ashen's cool.
Yeah, so a game that technically, I guess, came out in 2019 for certain people, but was out on Xbox and the Epic Game Store the year before that.
Yeah, I believe it was pretty late though as well. Like that was like a December.
It was a December 5th, I think. It was late. So I didn't get to it until 2019 here, but a friend and I grouped up and we did that game through in about a couple weeks whenever we had some free time. And I liked it more than I was expecting, even though I hate the final boss. I don't like that final boss fight at all, but the rest of the game, it has the benefit of being a co-op game, so it's kind of like, well, you're playing with your buddy, so like it's fun. But yeah, I just had a really, really good time with it. It's totally up my wheelhouse for how I like game design to be. Like I like the third person action adventure, like Souls-like-y formula. And that was just a co-op version of that. So yeah, had a good time with it. Sean, what is your number 1 2018-2019 game of the year?
My favorite game from 2018 that I played in 2019 was Overcooked 2.
Yeah.
They came out with a season pass, so I was back playing that game every month or two. On top of the season pass, they were coming out with free bundles of new levels to play as well. They just keep pumping out content, and I'll eat it up, pun intended.
Sure.
But the costumes are great, the levels are fun. I can always play more Overcooked stages, and the fact that it has online co-op, of course, like cements that for me. It is an easy thing. Like my buddy and I just will always play more Overcooked whenever we can.
Cool. John, what is your 2018-2019 game of the year?
Unsurprisingly, it is my game of the year from last year, The Messenger.
Nice. Okay.
Just really damn love that game, and it got DLC this year, so it was nice to go back and re-experience all that over again. And sealed it. They've added a couple things since I had played through it last, like the new Game Plus system, where like you can actually finally game over, and the game ends and stuff like that. And they've upped the difficulty. Everything does more damage, throws more projectiles, etc. So it was nice.
Yeah, but you can't access that DLC unless you replay the final boss. No, thank you. That's insane.
That boss is not as hard as I remember it being, honestly.
That's why I did not play the beach stuff as much as I wanted to, because I was like, I don't remember how to play this game at all. And you want me to fight the final boss.
The dumb thing was the patch that actually fixes that issue came out like a month after the game when most people were just done playing it.
Yeah.
So like if we had just even done it back then, it would have unlocked immediately.
Yep.
Yeah, I was a bit sore about that part too, but honestly, that boss was easier than I remember it being.
I kind of used that boss as a way to tutorialize myself on how to play the game again, so I was okay with it. But yeah, I would have liked to just jump into. My 2018-2019 game of the year, I'm just going to keep saying that to confuse people because it's funny, was Subnautica. People have been telling me I should try that out. It finally fully came out in 2018. I didn't get to it until 2019, but when I did, I couldn't stop playing it. That game, even though I have like a phobia of like drowning to death and like just everything about it is uncomfortable, it's just so beautiful and so well made. It just got its hooks in me so like hard, and I couldn't stop playing it. It's so good. It was kind of sad when I was done it, but also relieving. It's weird. It's the closest I've ever felt to heroin addiction, I think. Good game. Good game. So the 2018-2019 game of the year for the community was actually split. Celeste and Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Won in general, but Celeste was like really close behind. So that's what people were playing from 2018 last year, I guess, in the community.
That makes sense.
It was, sorry, Celeste and what?
And Smash Bros.
Smash.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Time to get a little shitty. Let's talk about our disappointing games.
All right.
All right. My number 3. A lot of people are gonna disagree with this one.
Okay.
But that's why it's on my list.
Okay.
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Wow.
A lot of people really like Luigi's Mansion 3. For whatever reason, it just did not click with me. I thought the controls were bad the whole time. The amount of backtracking you have to do. The sewer levels are terrible. Oh, they're so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Chasing that cat sucks, and they make you do it twice, which is like absurd. Holy smokes. I got sidetracked away from this game having like 3 floors left because I believe Pokemon came out.
Mm-hmm.
So just this last week I went and finished it up. And man, did I just have to muscle my way through how much I am not having fun with this game. You collect money for absolutely no reason. I just find it like a bummer the whole time. By the end of it, I was happy that I don't have to play it anymore. It was a disappointment to me.
Okay. John, number 3.
My number 3 is also from Nintendo, Yoshi's Crafted World.
Okay.
I honestly expected more out of this, especially after they kind of figured things out with Woolly World. It just didn't feel as fun. It just felt slower pace and just not as interesting. It felt like they tried to change the formula, make it more exploratory than like a mix of like fast platforming and exploratory. And I think it just kind of suffered as a result. There's a lot of like attack things in the foreground and background bullshit that just kills the pacing. It just felt slower and more boring and less interesting as a result.
Bummer. All right. I actually have 5 things here, but 2 of them I'm going to give honorable mentions.
Damn.
But so my number 3 is Nonogram's Prophecy, because how the fuck do you fuck up a Picross game? They found a way. You make it so that the puzzles don't load properly or the numbers don't mean jack shit. That's how you fucking do it.
Yeah, that's pretty hard. Like,
and
there's
it's not
like
even
one rule to Picross, and it's like, well, what if we ignored the one rule? Like, but you can't.
Oh, it's so irritating.
That's the equivalent of being like, hey, we made a Sudoku, but you can put like the number 2 in 3 spots inside of the same square. Like, that's not a Sudoku. What are you doing?
Yeah. It's not even that I was like looking forward to it or anything. It's just that I've never seen Picross get fucked up that way. And I've played like online user submitted puzzles before. Like, I've never seen it where the numbers on the side literally don't match up to what's possible on the board, or every now and then one of the puzzles just doesn't load. Like,
all I can imagine is like you like sitting down getting cozy. You got a cat curling up on your lap and your legs and your feet. You have a third one. And you get out your Switch, you're playing some Nonograms Picross, and then you come across the first time it doesn't make sense, and you have an existential crisis. Like, is it you? Are you the problem? Like, have you been playing Picross wrong your whole life?
I thought that too, because the first time I encountered it was on a colored puzzle, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm just not as used to colored puzzles or whatever. Let's redo it. I redid it 5 times until I realized there's no possible way it makes sense. Because if you do it this one way, then the other row doesn't make sense. And like, that's where I started really digging down into other puzzles that I thought like, oh, I'll just come back to this because obviously I messed up. I went back to those puzzles and it's like, nope, didn't mess this one up. You literally can't do this one either. And it just turned into this weird spiral. That's why I did a Medium article, because I was just like, I have to like show how bad this thing is. But yeah, I don't know. I've never seen a broken Picross game, and I was disappointed that the one exists. So that's why it's number 3. Sean, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is Crackdown 3. This one isn't
Yeah.
like terribly disappointing. It's
Yeah.
just like after waiting so long, having it getting delayed over and over. Like this was one of the like first games where Microsoft was talking about like how the cloud would influence their games and make them more powerful and all the things they could do with the power of the cloud. This was one of the first games that they were showcasing that. And what's crazy is like if we talk about that specifically, that's a separate mode
Mm-hmm.
that you have to open from a different launcher on the Xbox, which is the
Yeah.
craziest thing I can think of. Like,
Yeah.
what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
But overall, that game, like, it's fine, but it's like not what you want. It's what you wanted when Crackdown 1 came out because it is just Crackdown 1 again, but
Uh-huh.
prettier. And it's that exact same game again. I remember saying that it's like junk food. There's no substance to it. You're not getting anything nutrition. There's no vitamins here. Like there's nothing substantial about it. It is just, when I shoot the rocket, things will explode, and then they'll send more things at me that I can shoot the rocket at. And it's that, and you just rinse and repeat over and over and over again. And it is exactly what you think a Crackdown game is, not what you think a Crackdown game could be. Like they don't do anything interesting or new with it, which is just kind of a bummer, especially with how long they were pushing it back to the point of like, why was it getting delayed so much? It's just Crackdown 1 again. And that separate mode, the multiplayer with the cloud one, kind of sucks. Like, I don't know why you'd really play that other than just checking it out. And as a big Crackdown fan, it was a bummer to just like be done with this thing in like 6 hours and be like, well, I'm just never going to turn this on again. There's no reason to.
Yeah, I feel that. John, what's your number 2?
My number 2 for most disappointing, again, Nintendo Mario Kart Tour. Because I had low expectations, and somehow they were even lower.
So I want to just butt in for 2 seconds here. I was told just the other day that playing ranked, the only way you can actually, I have a buddy who plays it like regularly still. The only way you can get up into like the top 20 or something in ranked is by getting a specific kart racer, Frozen Mario or something. I don't know, Ice Mario, which means a 0.01% chance at like the shooting the load, the pipe,
firing off the pipe,
or buying
Rubbing
it for $40.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I found a tweet and I posted this in the Discord because it was insane to me. But it was basically, this is when the Pokemon expansion was announced and people were upset about the $30 price tag.
Yeah.
The Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass costs less than Diddy Kong in Mario Kart World Tour. Diddy Kong costs $40.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, what?
And then
What are
here's
you
the
even
thing,
talking about?
You can rank them up by getting them again and again. So you
Yep.
keep buying them over so they get leveled up more and more. It's just not.
It's gross. Yeah.
No. See, I like the character designs because I like that they're doing like alt versions of all these characters, like like Winter Daisy, like Taxi Driver Waluigi, all this weird stuff.
Sure.
But then it's just held by like a not interesting gameplay style, and then like it's obviously pay to win because it's a mobile game. It's just.
I'm kind of surprised that you would put this in a disappointment because that implies that you had like high expectations for it.
Well, like I said, I had low expectations and somehow it even failed to clear those.
I can see that for sure. And I bring this up primarily because I think I'm just in the camp that like all Nintendo mobile games are bad.
I liked Dr. Mario World for a while.
I mean, agree to disagree because I don't. And I know some people like Fire Emblem Heroes. I don't. I just think they're all bad, which is a bummer because a lot of those franchises are some of like my favorite ones from Nintendo. And they're putting out games that I find are just like I never want to play this.
That's fair. Yeah.
Okay.
Paul, you're up then. Number 2.
Number 2, Eagle Island, the game that I wanted to like so much that I played through it.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did this.
Yeah, that's my bad, guys. Sorry.
We did this for TDP Plus. And I guess like I should run down my problems with it just in general because not everybody listening might be a Patreon supporter, but you should because you have a whole backlog of stuff you could listen to for like as low as $1 a month. Maybe consider it.
Yeah, and if you subscribe to the $5 tier right now, you get a sticker.
You get a sticker. That's right. All right. So Eagle Island is this game that I was looking forward to. This cute little platformy Metroidvania type game where you control a dude who throws an owl at things to do damage. I don't know where to start with what is like so bad about it. I guess just the fact that it controls like really poorly. Moving or throwing your owl at stuff is only in like the cardinal directions essentially because it's kind of like it doesn't feel good aiming. When every time you aim, you like stop in midair to do so. So there's like a lot of stuff built around you utilizing shooting your owl off as like a movement thing.
Is that what the
or,
kids
like,
are calling it these days?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought so.
A lot of, because there's random generations of like the tile sets you can get for dungeons that you go into, it sometimes makes it so some things are almost unclearable without taking a hit. And that's like infuriating because when you take a hit, you lose one of like your full hearts or whatever. Basically, like you take, the damage is crazy, the amount of damage you take, but more importantly to heal is fucking crazy because you have to get a minimum, I think, of 3 like kills in a row, and sometimes there's not 3 enemies to kill in a room in a row. There's just this weird thing where like it could have been fine if they had designed a straightforward like Metroidvania map, then like kind of tailored it to, well, the player will be here at this point, so like this will be fine or whatever, or making it just a little bit easier because of the random nature of it. Also, the fact that you don't take in with you stuff in your backpack, like you lose your perks and they like die down. I don't know. It's like if you played Binding of Isaac and you picked up an item and then after 4 rooms that item breaks or is gone. Like, what the fuck is the fun in that? I don't know. Everything about the way they put this game together feels like it's at odds with itself. And even though the music is good, it looks good, and it's kind of a cute little concept, it's just fucking terrible to play. So, disappointing for sure. Sean, what is your most disappointing game of 2019?
All right, no, sorry, it wouldn't
Yeah.
unmute. My most disappointing game is Anthem.
Yep, with you there, baby.
Fair enough.
There is a total arc of this podcast where you can kind of. So this is your number one as well, Paul?
This is my number one.
So there's an arc of this podcast of a few episodes over the course, I want to say, of like maybe 2 months, of you can follow like Paul and I's excitement to like disdain of this game from like when the beta dropped and it was like, wow, why is this running so poorly? To like the game coming out and being like, oh, there's so much wrong with this game.
Yeah.
And then of course, like the absolute fire that game was on. And there's a great Kotaku article from Jason Schreier about kind of some stuff that went on behind the scenes that I highly recommend reading.
That game almost killed the company single-handedly. Like, it's fucking crazy how bad that game
it is crazy. I'm still curious all the time whenever some kind of announcement comes out for it, if they're going to let it like slowly die, or if they're going to actually try and turn it around, which they say they're going to do, but who knows what that would even look like at this point.
Yep.
It was such a cool game. Like the hype was so huge for this game. I was so excited. It looked so cool. And after Mass Effect Andromeda, I was ready for BioWare to like come out swinging with the sci-fi. And there are parts of that game that I enjoy. Like, flying around is cool, except you have to keep going through waterfalls. Like
I'm kind of
fighting
still
on a team,
even okay with that. Yeah, fighting on the team's good.
Fighting on the team is fun.
Yep.
But you have to be on a team, and if you're not, which is most of the time now because no one's playing it or it wouldn't lobby you up with anybody, is extremely hard because maybe you picked the wizard class who really needs some like DPS people out there because you're not very strong yourself.
That game doesn't tell you at all how it works, like mechanically.
Stuff like they built in like what you need to like grind to progress through some of the stuff. I had a similar complaint about Destiny 2's expansion. What was that one? Shadow something, right?
Oh,
The most
one
recent
that
one.
just came out. Yeah.
I had a bit of a problem with that because a lot of the missions were like, why don't you grind out like 50 of
Shadowkeep?
these kind of kills? I think it's Shadowkeep, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, why don't you grind out and kill 50 of these guys for a bit? And it was like, no, you've never asked me to do this. Why are you asking me to do this? And Anthem had several ones of those where it was just slowing your progress and making you grind through stuff before you could open these like tombs. And that sucked as well. And those are like weirdly early on.
Yeah.
So it's just a bummer from like start to finish. And what sucks because it seems like it could be such a cool game, and it did, and I was so excited for it, and it just fell so hard.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, wow, that game just kind of hurts to think about. Like, I think about Sean in February and how excited that boy was, but he didn't know, and he's about to get hurt so hard, and I just want to protect him, but I can't.
Yeah.
But that's life, you know?
And then the like more interesting stuff that they thought up was like timed events. So if you didn't play during like this weekend, like the Cataclysm stuff or whatever, it's like you just don't get to play that, I guess. Or it's fucking weird. The way they handled everything in that game.
Time stuff is not weird to other like live games. Like they should do timed events and whatnot. But
it's weird when your game's dead. You should just add that.
It came so late. Like I couldn't even be bothered to like jump back in because it's like none of my friends are gonna play with me.
Right.
So it's like this should have been out like weekend 2, not 6 months later. So yeah, it is such a bummer.
Yep. For sure. All right, John, what's your most disappointing game?
Again, another game that looked like it was not going to be
good. Nintendo
game? No, it's not a Nintendo game.
Sorry,
it is on a Nintendo system. It's another game that I had low expectations for, and it went below by a lot. Contra Rogue Core.
Yes, I've heard this from a lot of people.
Yes. The minute I saw that there was a Contra game coming, I got excited, and then I watched the trailer. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I played it, and it was so much worse.
Yeah, it looks really bad.
It's extremely bad.
Yeah.
You have to play all the multiplayer stages. You have to play single player. You actually like can't do co-op unless you've played through the game single player. You need to do missions in single player to unlock multiplayer missions. You need to grind out things with random drops to get better equipment. And there's a chance that the upgrades can fail because you might not have enough money. So you go with a cheaper option for upgrading your characters. It looks super gross. Like the art style is super nasty. The art itself is like the graphics are super muddy. It's a grind fest. You fight the same enemies over and over and over again. It feels devoid of originality, or like I'm just impressed at how bad of a game it is. I would probably go as far to say it was the worst game that came out this year.
Yeah. If I had played it, I think that would have been on this list for sure. I'm going to give my 2 shout outs for disappointing games. John Wick Hex. I didn't know what you are, and I didn't have huge expectations of you. Still didn't make it, buddy. Sorry. It just was too goofy and wasn't fun enough. And this is going to be like one of Sean's, like, this might piss off some people. Death Stranding. Way to not stick the landing, buddy. Fuck off.
I keep hearing something's up with that ending for sure, but you know, I'm gonna get there someday. I'm gonna do it.
I'm not gonna talk anymore about it, but I had a lot of fun delivering stuff and making roads, and then I stopped having fun, and then it ended. Yeah. Okay, let's look at the community. Community disappointment. Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, this was overwhelming. And I think it might be more the deck stuff than the actual game, because there was a lot of people with Pokemon on their pile of shame as well. So I don't know what to read into this, but
like the same people?
No, they were different people at least. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that it wasn't just the deck stuff, but
I have to assume it's a lot of the deck stuff, but I will also say I do think it is one of the weaker Pokemon games in the last few, but
fair enough.
I'm assuming due to the overwhelming net, it's the deck stuff. That's my guess. But who
Yeah,
knows?
I kind of think so too.
Someone in the chat brings up a good point. I want to know how many people played it and voted that, and how many didn't play it.
Yeah.
Who knows? No one will ever know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop being downers. Let's talk about some surprising things that maybe we were just like, holy shit, this was good, or whoa, that came out, or that's out. I'll look that up right now, or whatever. Sean, what's your number 3 for surprising game of the year?
My number 3 is Tetris 99. Not so much because it's Tetris, but because it's Battle Royale Tetris, and it came out of nowhere, and it was a lot of fun, and they kept doing fun little themes and skins for you to get. But again, they just came out of nowhere and said, "Yo, Battle Royale Tetris," and it's out now, and it was like, what? Are you kidding?
This is my number 2, by the way.
This was my number 1, by the way.
Yeah, it's a pretty surprising game.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think the biggest surprise is that it's just like how well it worked. Like they just like.
And that was the
really
impressive thing about it. It's just like it made me care about a genre I didn't expect to care about. It's just like, oh hey, you like Tetris, you like multiplayer Tetris. How about 98 other people?
Yeah. I'm still playing it kind of regularly. Like whenever I
like
remember.
that they keep actually adding stuff. I love that they keep doing that.
Yep.
I've never seen my girlfriend get so competitive with a game. When like she gets so into this, she's never won it. I think she's gotten to like number 4 is her highest, but she will get furious if she doesn't hit top 10. I'm not allowed to talk to her while she's playing it because of course it's my fault.
Yeah.
Then if I've
That's a
done
good way to
anything,
get smacked for sure.
sometimes I'm not allowed to look at her while she's playing it.
Yeah.
Tetris 99 was a fun and good surprise.
For sure. John, what's your number 3?
My number 3 was Ape Out. I kept seeing marketing for it everywhere, but I was like, I can't tell what this is. It doesn't look interesting. And then we actually played it for TDP Plus. Yeah, it was really good. It was actually super fun.
Yeah. That soundtrack
was real good.
Yeah.
Yep. My number 3, Risk of Rain 2. The game that I thought looked like shit from screenshots a few years ago, and when they were posted on a dev blog, turned out to be a game that I absolutely fell in love with and continue to play to this day every time they update it. Even though it's not technically out, I was just super surprised that it played as well as it did, and that it's basically 3D Risk of Rain, which was one of my favorite indie games from years and years ago.
Right. I remember seeing those screenshots from forever ago.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just went silent. But I always remember we're thinking like, is the polygonal going to work? Because that game gets like kind of crazy.
Yeah, it works.
And
somehow.
they went silent. Then they just popped up and like, yo, it's out now in early access. Here you go. And it just worked. Like it is just Risk of Rain again, but polygonal. They just did that. And the fact that it works, I think, is the big surprise.
Yep.
It's like, oh, this is totally just an evolution of Risk of Rain. Like you guys did it. Good job.
Yeah.
And I'm in a very similar boat of like, can't wait for it to hit 1.0. I don't want to play too much of it now. Because I don't want to burn through it. And I'm just waiting for that bundle pack to go on sale on Switch, but it never does. Neither does Risk of Rain 1. I don't think that game's ever gone on sale on Switch.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
but
I check like every 2 weeks. I check.
Okay, fair enough. What's your number 2, Sean?
My number 2. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, for some reason I thought that was yours. My bad.
No, I was just adding on. My number 2 game, sticking with Battle Royale, is Apex Legends. The game that finally got me into Battle Royale games. Pretty surprising since I had completely bounced off PUBG. Fortnite is incomprehensible. It was basically a genre that I had almost written off. And then they just came out with one that was like Overwatchy enough that I was like, okay, like this has enough of what I need. It's got fun ultimate powers, it's got characters, but most importantly, it has like co-op, and co-op's a big deal for me. Being able to respawn is another big deal for me because I'm bad at video games and I die really quick, but having a teammate pick me up and bring me back basically changed the genre for me. This hasn't made me want to try other battle royales, but it made me it kept my attention. And I was surprised to be playing a battle royale that much.
Cool. John, you're number 2.
My number 2 is Dicey Dungeons, because I didn't expect Terry Kavanaugh to drop a game. It felt like out of nowhere. I didn't expect some of my friends to have worked on it, and I didn't expect it to be so solid for a game that seemed pretty luck-based, honestly, considering it's all about rolling dice.
Sure.
So it was a fun, pleasant surprise.
Sure, I agree. My number 2 was Tetris 99. So Sean, your number 1 surprising game of the year.
Outer Worlds.
Nice.
It's basically Fallout, but I have bounced off Fallout numerous times.
Okay.
I pretty much am not interested when they announce a new Fallout, but I want to. And then for whatever reason, Outer Worlds grabbed me so much that it makes me think maybe I do want to play Fallout. I don't have time to do that, but maybe when an actual Fallout comes out, I will give that an actual try. I liked the story. I liked the characters a lot. It tapped into what I love about Mass Effect, with your companions, some really cool decisions, and I just got like entranced with the Outer Worlds.
Cool. John?
Mine was Tetris 99, which I already talked about.
Okay. My most surprising game was Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair, because I fucking hated that first one and didn't care about that franchise at all, and that is one of the best games I played this year. I really, really liked it. I really like the Donkey Kong Country take on it. I really like how it plays. I really like that it's the type of game that you could, if you were good, you could just beat it right away, but you're probably not because you're doing it blind the first time, so you're going to have to go through the levels to get, like, the stuff to make it so that you can give yourself an easier time in it. I really like how that game's designed. Honestly, the only problem I have with it at all is the fact that it's a little weird controlling at times. Other than that, I think it's great.
It's not as tight as Donkey Kong Country was.
That would be a great franchise or, like, game to take to Nintendo and, like, let them polish it for sure. Okay, the community surprising game of the year by another large margin was Untitled Goose Game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good to know.
Yeah. Audio award.
Best audio. All right. My number 3,
okay,
which we touched on briefly a second ago, was Ape Out. I think the audio in that game is super cool. For those who don't know, it's like a jazz percussion soundtrack.
It's prog jazz.
Yeah, that is procedurally generated based on how you are playing and what is going on in the levels. The levels themselves are also procedurally generated. So if there's not many enemies behind, there might just be like a low little rumble, a little snare tap in, and then once a bunch of enemies show up, the staccato drums just kick in and go nuts while you're being a gorilla, throwing people through windows and stuff like that. And it is just a really cool and unique soundtrack to a game that I can't think of another game that kind of has done this before. So I think that definitely gets a shout out.
That's a fun fact with Ape Out, actually. I added it to my number 3 when John just said it was a surprising game of his because I forgot about Ape Out. So it replaced something. It is also my number 3 for audio award.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. It was
my number 2 for audio.
Oh, nice.
Right on. Can we know what it replaced?
No, because that's coming up. I pushed everything up a bit.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was say my number 3 is Untitled Goose Game.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because the audio of that, while it's fairly simple, honestly, is super atmospheric and just kind of charming in a way. So I like how every little movement you do basically just kind of builds along with the music.
Right. I was trying to think, like, what even is the audio? And I couldn't think of a soundtrack, but I could think of that honk.
Yeah.
And that is a strong honk.
It is a very strong honk.
That's how they start the game, with you just honking and then popping out of the bush. That is a very good honk. And
I like that.
You did also remind me that as things get more chaotic, like Ape Out, the music's just to kick in more and more.
Yeah. I like how pretty much no matter what you're doing, like the music goes along with the pace you're moving at. Like if you're doing different things, the instrumentation changes, or like they'll change the way like they're playing like the piano and stuff like that. So just a lot of charm in that. I feel like the audio was one of the best parts about that. The audio and the clean presentation of it.
A fun little anecdote about the honk is and Patrick Klepek wrote this article, and he did an interview with House around the time the game came out. And the developer talked about when the trailer originally came out, they got tons of comments and response saying that honk actually belongs to a duck and not a goose. And they had to go back into their files and look where they got this like royalty-free like goose honk track. And they had to go read the description, and it said like, you know, an English field with some geese honking. And then at the end, it says there might be a duck or two in there. So they had to change the honk to a goose because they did actually get a duck's honk in there, and enough people like knew the difference.
Ridiculous.
And that's a fun little anecdote. You can read that whole article on Waypoint.
That's pretty funny. All right, my number 3 is Ape Out. Whatever. I was gonna give it just an honorable mention. It replaced Valfaris because heavy metal soundtrack made that game so fucking good.
Right, I have heard about that game.
I was just gonna give it a shout out at the end, but I'll just say that now. All right, your number 2, Sean.
My number 2 is Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Ooh.
This is one of the only game soundtracks last year, or I should say of 2019, that I still go back to and listen to. I love the soundtracks quite a bit. It's really catchy. The pop music is very enjoyable, and playing along with it, like the music and the visuals line up really nicely. It's a really good kind of, the way Rez is great in terms of how its music and visuals line up. This is a similar tone, but not for electronic music, but pop music instead. So even if you can't play Sayonara Wild Hearts, I would recommend checking out that soundtrack on Spotify or whatever.
Cool. John, your number 2?
My number 2 is Ape Out.
Oh, that's right. My number 2 is Cadence of Hyrule.
Build up. Yeah, that's a fair one.
Nope.
Sorry, what was yours, Paul?
Cadence of Hyrule.
That is my number 1.
Okay. The reason so my number 1 will become obvious. I'll talk more about it. The reason why this is this almost was number 1 for me, mainly because the audio and gameplay are so intertwined. It was like, I think if you take either one of them out, it changes a lot of things, but that's what I like about it. I like Necrodancer a lot. I like rhythm games, and I like all of the covers of the themes and stuff in Cadence. I think it's just one of my favorite times. My only problem with Cadence is that it's too damn short. I wanted like another like 10 hours of that shit. So yeah, I really like it a lot.
So we're on to my number 1. I'll just keep talking about Cadence.
Okay.
That music is fantastic. Danny B's back doing what he does best and remixing some Zelda songs at the same time. Like, so many of those songs are great from like a nostalgia level, and then also like this is like an absolute like club banger. Like,
yeah,
I want to listen to this on the reg. That Glockenspiel battle, holy smokes, I almost spit out my drink when I got to it. That song is so good.
It's really good.
And then he like ties in the fighting with how the boss attacks. There's just so much good music in there. Mm-hmm. It's the only game soundtrack I listen to more than Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Cool. John, you're number 1 for audio.
My number 1 is Dicey Dungeons.
Ooh.
That soundtrack is just really good. A nice jump between it feels like every like combat theme is very poppy, very just like high energy. Everything feels like it just fits really well. It's honestly one of those soundtracks I feel I could listen to just outside of the game, no problem, and be fully engrossed in it. So that's why it gets my vote.
Nice. My number 1 is Resident Evil 2 Remake. So back a long time ago when they were doing Resident Evil games, they did the static
camera. Game with total club bangers.
Club bangers.
To it on the reg.
They a lot of the horror from the old Resident Evil games were from the static camera angle and not being able to see what's coming up. So Resident Evil games generally have always had very good sound design, But with the addition of the camera, the back-facing camera throughout the whole game, it makes it a little less scary because you're able to see down hallways and stuff. Not so much with Resident Evil 2 with the remake. They found a way to design it so that every time you were somewhere, you heard shit going on in the other room and you just didn't want to fucking go. You heard Mr. X stomping around looking for you everywhere around that fucking thing, that police station, and you just couldn't tell exactly where. You knew he was like above you somewhere in like one of the rooms that you need to get to, and you're just like, okay, let's go. Let's fucking go. And like, yeah, I don't know. Every time.
Yeah, the footsteps.
Yeah.
Those are pretty crazy.
Every time you get to a new area, you just like want to stand there for a second and listen to see what's going to like murder you, basically. And it's so good. I really, really like it a lot. And I think most of what makes that game good and scary is the sound design. So it gets my number 1. The community game choice was Cadence of Hyrule. Again, overwhelmingly. Yep.
Makes sense.
All right. The TDP Plus Game of the Year. Sean, what is your TDP Plus Game of the Year?
I have 2. I could not decide between these 2.
Okay.
The first one is Slay the Spire.
That's mine. So, okay.
And I'll see if I get John on my second one.
Okay.
Slay the Spire is super good. I've been waiting to play it like on Switch for a while.
Yeah.
And it is just such a strong card game. It is super enjoyable. I'm glad we played it. I still go back to it. Came out on Game Pass, so I like started it over again because why not?
Sure.
It is just such a really good card game. And then the one I have it tied with is Return of the Obra Dinn.
You got mine.
That's hilarious. Wow. All right.
Amazing. Wow. Return of the Obra Dinn is just such a weird game. There's nothing quite like it. The music is catchy, but the sound effects are also weird, listening to people getting like ripped apart by the craziest beasts. It is such a unique game, and it's one I'll definitely remember for a long time, just in how unique it is, both from like a visual standpoint and just from a gameplay standpoint. Reliving all these people's like deaths and having to figure it out and puzzle your way through it, and you're stumped, and it is just so enjoyable and rewarding when you finally get like 3 people together and stuff like that. It is a really cool game. And I'll let you guys talk about them both now.
All right. I had done 3, 2, 1 because I wasn't sure what we were doing. So I had Katana Zero, Fight and Rage, and then I had Obra Dinn. Obra Dinn, I just really loved the mystery of it, like trying to piece everything together, what the hell was going on, jumping back and forth. There could be some quality of life changes in the sequel if they decide to do another one, but like it just felt so fresh and interesting, and I felt engrossed. I was like, I need to know what happened next. Like, oh god, I'm in this part of the timeline now. I need to figure out what the hell's going on. It was for a game that's basically about like put names in a book. It was way more engrossing than I ever thought it could possibly be.
Yeah,
for sure. Slay the Spire is just one of the most novel and interesting ideas to come in video games in a long time, frankly. Just taking a card deck building game, mixing it with like some roguelite elements, putting them together, it kind of started its own genre. Ever since Slay the Spire came out into early access, people have been talking about it, and it's been spawning clones and people taking inspiration from it. It's really a trendsetter of a game, and it's just really, really good. The only thing I could say negatively about it is I don't like how it looks. Like, I don't like the art style, but I mean, that's super subjective.
Yeah,
everything else
I could
is fine.
agree with you on that. And I didn't mean to like jump to number 1. So if you guys have like a 3 and 2, you do want to talk about.
I don't have a 3 or 2.
Oh, well then, John, if you want to talk about your 3 and 2, you said Fight and Rage a second ago.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I played that a ton after the TDP Plus episode. I still enjoyed it. It's just a super solid all around beat 'em up. There are very difficult parts in it, but like I said, that game, once you get past your first playthrough, opens up so much more and becomes so much better. It puts a bad first foot forward, but once it gets on that second foot, it fucking goes. So, and yeah, Katana Zero was my number 3. I really enjoyed that whole experience.
Yeah.
That was just like an enjoyable game through and through. But the reason I kind of just stopped was like I gave it the 3rd place was because it doesn't really have a satisfying ending.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're still working on the DLC chapter, so unfortunately there's still no satisfying ending.
Yep.
Right. And again, if anyone wants to listen to us talk about these games more, check out our Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of the patrons, I'll tell you what their stuff was. So there's few enough votes. I'll give you all of them. Ape Out and Dicey Dungeons tie for 4th place. Baba Is You gets 3rd place. Katana Zero and Castlevania Anniversary Collection tie for 2nd place. But 1st place goes to Slay the Spire.
Right
What
on.
tied Castlevania? Sorry for a second.
Katana Zero.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
And this community voting was just for our patrons. So basically, people that had access to the episode, kind of what game or what episode was their favorite, basically.
Right. Okay. 1 hour done, gentlemen. We're about to hit the big one. Time to do some Game of the Year talk.
All right,
from
get
10 to
comfy.
1. Get comfy. This is where it gets serious.
Here we go.
And I have 10 from the community as well, tallied up points, and have a top 10 for them as well. So, okay. Sean, what's your number 10 Game of the Year for 2019?
Number 10 is Cadence of Hyrule.
Okay. Sure.
Mostly just on the soundtrack alone, because I do agree it is too short. It becomes too easy. About an hour into it, you get the spear, and everything becomes extremely easy.
Yeah.
I wish that game was twice as long. Give us 8 dungeons. But I was just happy to get more Necrodancer. I like that game quite a bit. And again, the music is super good. Also, I'm just glad to see this worked out so well. Nintendo giving away one of their flagship properties to an indie studio.
Yeah.
To do something weird with it, and it worked. Like this is a great game. This is a good game.
Yeah.
I just want more of it. Like my biggest complaint is there was just not enough, and that's a great complaint to have.
Yeah.
So that's my number 10.
And it has such a nice ambiguous ending where it's just like they could just kind of roll this into whatever they want, I guess. Really. Yep. So, John, what's your number 10?
My number 10 is Blazing Chrome.
Oh, that game's so good.
Yeah, now while I said Contra Rogue Core was a big disappointment, this was a big fun surprise.
Yeah.
This is what that game should have been. It was a super fun Contra game. Multiple different weapons, like multiple characters and play styles, and it was just like fun, high energy from start to finish. Short though was my only gripe, but at least when you beat the game, you unlock the harder difficulty, and you also unlock a completely different gameplay style. So.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great game. My number 10 is Baba Is You. So I figured I would like this game just because it seemed charming, and I fell into this deep rabbit hole of just after a while breaking my brain every day on one of the puzzles and then putting it down for the day. It became just kind of the thing I did for a while at the beginning of the year, and I think it's one of the best puzzle games of all time. I absolutely love it. Sean, what is your number 9?
Oh, shouldn't we do the community game?
Yeah, you're right. I forgot. Sorry, it's a different notepad, so hold on.
Bagel.
Community number 10, just barely, was Control.
Oh.
Okay. My number 9 is Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Okay, sure.
This is one of the standout Apple Arcade games. I think this is worth using your Apple Arcade trial just to try this. There's a few that I would definitely recommend, but this is, I think, probably the best Apple Arcade game. Again, the soundtrack is fantastic. I like the gameplay quite a bit. It lasts just long enough with replayability if you want to try and like perfect each stage, but there's like a good 3 hours of gameplay there, and visually, audibly, it is a lot of fun. This is a really cool game.
Cool. John, number 9.
My number 9 is Earth Defense Force Iron Rain.
Nice.
It was taking EDF and taking it in an interesting new direction, actually letting you customize your character, which was a nice change of pace. Still has that ridiculous, like everything is trying to kill you, everything's going crazy thing. Grinding not as annoying, but in a different way. It's still a grind fest, unfortunately, but honestly, I like the changes they made to it. I like the fact that it was 6-player online and 8-player versus. Just a fun experience. It was nice to see EDF back in a different tone and not be bad like the last time they tried to change tone.
Nice. Yeah, I need to play more of that. I've had fun with the little bit I've done, so cool. Number 9 for me was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So, yeah, I don't know how to talk about this game in a way that isn't just it's Star Wars, so it's good. I guess it's, first of all, completely up my wheelhouse in how it controls. I really like where the problem I usually have with these games is that later, if you're playing a Jedi or like anybody with a lightsaber, there's a point where they have to do something to make it so you just don't automatically cut a dude's head off at the end game because challenge or something. And the way they get around that in this game is that your lightsaber is pretty much always good against like normal shitty guys, but what you have to get better at is knowing how to like break through their defense and their guard, either by parrying them and then getting like a counterattack in, or by just beating them down so senseless that they can't have no stamina to continue and then taking them out. And I think that just in like a weird lore perspective, it makes it feel that much better anytime you're fighting somebody with a lightsaber in Fallen Order than in stuff like what's that other big one that came out? The Force Unleashed and stuff. They just
Force Unleashed 2?
Yeah, exactly. They just made stormtroopers have like shields now or something stupid where, yeah, I don't know. And in this, you could kind of fight harder enemies to get through. Like you fight like basically captains and like shock troopers and stuff like that.
I'm going to jump in because this is also my number 8. This is really the next thing I'm talking about.
Okay.
But specifically, I do like when you come across a random like named enemy.
Yeah.
And it's just like a mini boss battle out of nowhere. There was definitely times where I got completely like caught off guard and wiped out. And it was like, oh, sweet.
The bounty hunters, they're so good.
Yeah, a lot of fun. One thing that kind of sucks though is they're there kind of randomly, so it's like, oh, now I got your number, but then they didn't spawn, and it's like, oh crap.
See, I like that because it feels like they got their bounty, they're done, they don't give a shit.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the characters. I like the story, like it's gripping from start to finish, which I think that's kind of like the best thing you could say about a Star Wars video game is like the story is worth seeing the whole way through.
And what they do at the end is just like such a fanboy moment for me. I was just like, oh, this is so cool.
It's very cool. It got spoiled to me because I watched a commercial in front of a movie. And it was just like, and like I know I had heard that there's a commercial out there that they spoiled it, and so I had been avoiding any kind of trailer or marketing I could find. But when you're at a movie theater and they just play a trailer in front of you,
yeah, what do you do?
So that sucked. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that game, like, it could play better, it could feel tighter. We talked about it recently. It's kind of a messy, unpolished game, but it's still just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
running along the walls, all the cool force abilities you get, pulling people, throwing the lightsaber. That's a good time. I will say though, that final boss fight sucks.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
She is way too good. She can just warp around the map. She has an attack where she just picks you up and like punches half your health away. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, she's super unfair. For sure.
I had to stand like on the other side of the room and just throw my lightsaber at her over and over until her health was done. You know, like a real Jedi.
Yeah.
So, but up until that point, like everything else, like
and
totally
then
fun.
After that point,
after that point's really good. Yeah. I can't wait for a sequel to that. Like, I think it's going to be such a good improvement. Is going to be such a good game. I can't wait.
Yep. Agreed. The community. Number 9 was Pokemon Sword / Shield.
Okay. And I just said my number 8. So, John, your number 8?
All right. My number 8, Resident Evil 2, the remake.
I'll have this discussion with you. Sure.
Oh, I know. I know you will. I would have loved to put this much higher, but honestly, I didn't get to play too much of it. Is the real downside on it.
Bummer.
But I just loved how different it was from the actual 2, yet felt the exact same. Like it's actually impressive how different it felt. Yet I don't know, it just felt
Yeah.
like it was exactly what it needed to be. I never really, like I said, never really got to dig into the real meat and bones of it, but it was just nice seeing like it wasn't just an HDification of the game. It was like so much
For sure.
more.
Yeah, I really like it because the people that made it, you can tell, were fans of the original, and they knew what was like the cool things from that and what they liked, but they kind of did it in their own way. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game is just absolutely phenomenal. The only problem I have with it is that it is a remake. Like, it's not a completely new thing. So I kind of knew all along what was going to go on, but at the same time, that kind of like strokes your nostalgia for it, and that's what like made it higher for me. If somebody wanted like a new game, that might be a little disappointing in its own way, but I really liked seeing how this team would like handle certain things in the game, and they do some really weird and crazy things. I wish the DLC that they've released for it was better, but like it seems just kind of it's just kind of pointless. But
I feel like it's partially because they focused so soon on doing Resident Evil 3. I feel like probably the DLC was more of an afterthought because of it.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm definitely okay with that. So, for sure.
Here's Open 3 is also good.
Yeah. Yep. Are we on number 8?
Oh, you're up next. Yep, 8.
For Paul.
My number 8 is Super Mario Maker 2.
Nice.
Okay.
I don't know how to talk about this in a new way because it's not exactly new. The reason why this actually made the list in general was because as soon as they released Link, it became a completely new game.
That's respectable, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't on my top 10. And then when they released that, I was like, oh, we can make levels now that are adventure levels. That's fucking great. It didn't take long for people to do bullshit Kaizo levels where you're just down sorting on a rolling ball over and over again, and those suck. And if you do them, you're bad and should feel bad. But like, there are some creators out there that have actually tried to make like little dungeons and really take advantage of the fact that you can like use the bow as like a little projectile to reach places, or like you have a charge attack and like a shield and stuff like that. I think it's really, really cool. Other than that, it's honestly the same game, just with like more stuff added to it, and that's good enough as it is, but they took it to a new level by adding Link, for sure.
I like that it has a story mode. That
sure.
Even if it is basically just like a threadbare excuse to just make their own stages, I'm glad they actually did make their own stages this time around.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. I kind of like the Ninja speedrun things too, but like
that's an interesting thing to add for sure. Yeah.
I hated the second one though. I don't like it's weird because I'm at odds with myself here. I didn't like the Legend of Zelda themed speedrun. I liked the Mario themed one because that felt like a speedrun. The Legend of Zelda one was weird and janky in different ways. But yeah, no, I really like what they're doing with it, and I'm just surprised that they changed the game so much by adding a new character to it, and I kind of want them to add more.
I am curious if they are going to add more, because they still make it seem like they're going to add more tile sets, but they haven't hinted at anything yet.
I know. Yeah, I hope they add more.
I just wish they could fix the damn netcode. That's honestly why I kept it off like my top 10 and honorable mentions, because the thing I was the most excited for was the feature that kind of ran the worst.
Yeah. The number 8 for a community was Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Nice.
Sean, 7.
Sean, number 7.
Number 7 for me is SteamWorld Quest.
Nice.
The deck building games, the dungeon crawling with them is very enjoyable to me. I prefer this one over Slay the Spire, mostly because of having characters and a story to grab onto, as someone who's values story quite a bit into games. Mm-hmm. So this just kind of took some of the best parts of Slay the Spire and added other components that I really like. It's got good music. I love the way it looks. and I'm just a big fan of the SteamWorld games. They keep doing some really fun stuff with them, and I would love a sequel to SteamWorld Quest 2. I just want more of that. But this was already a great length as it was. It wasn't too short. It wasn't too long. And like some of those characters are like well thought out. It was a really good time.
Nice. Yeah, it's a good game. John, number 7.
My number 7 was Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
This is my 6, so I can tag team this with you.
Nice. Sure. All right. This was honestly like we kind of said before, a surprising return to form, because Yooka-Laylee as a 3D platformer was very hit or miss depending on who you talk to, but this as a Donkey Kong Country style 2D platformer was surprisingly good. A lot of cool ideas, like basically the fact that every stage had a messed up version you could do to kind of change things.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing the first stage, I'm like, there's a door I don't know how to reach. How the hell do I reach that door? And then like 5 or 6 stages later, I go back, I'm like, oh, that's how you get the door.
Yeah.
It was just really lots, like a little cool thing. Like they somehow got that exploration feeling that I enjoyed of trying to find the secrets in Donkey Kong Country. They brought it back in a surprisingly well way. Still some quirks to it. Like I said, the jumping feels a little jank at times, but I like the little things, like the fact that when you took your hit and lost your partner, you could still get them back if you were fast enough. The tonic ideas were actually really cool, even if some of them literally just made the game completely unplayable.
Yeah.
Like the Game Boy filter, and then like the 2-bit filter or whatever it is, like just like completely destroying the fidelity of the game. But it was really fun. I actually really enjoyed this game.
Yeah. I think it can't be understated how cool it is to kind of basically do like a dark world version of Worlds, but like the way that they come about is by something on the overworld happening to that stage. So like, for example, there's one stage that's like on a bridge and it's all normal and whatever. Then you flip a switch in the overworld, and that one that was on the stage is now, the bridge had gone up. So now that level you play like on its side, basically crawling up it rather than going across it. Or another one is like, I think there's one where it's like a regular grassy area. No, it's a factory. And then like you flood it basically in the overworld by like making a river go through it. And now you're playing through it again with like everything underwater. It becomes a water level. It's so good. Like everything is so thought out in that game. It's just a real treat to play. Both like, I think us liking Donkey Kong Country really sends it home for us, but like even somebody who like hasn't played those or doesn't like those, I think there's enough in there that you could feel pretty good, as long as you like platforming. You have to like platforming, like a lot.
If you don't, it's gonna
yeah. I mean, we both like platforming, so it's fine. Speaking of platforming, my number 7's Indivisible. Kind of a late one for me to play because I only played it a little bit ago, and I was a little worried if I had some recency bias because of it, but then I was thinking about it more and more, and like I 100% of that game. That game is just so good, and so it's just so well made. It's kind of a weird mashup between like a fighting game with like RPG platforming going on in it and some Metroidvania-ness. So the way it controls and plays is that you have a team of 4 characters, with your main girl always being one of them, and they like represent a different button on your, like a facing button on your controller, and you attack. They do attacks depending on like which way you are tilting your control stick and then pushing the button that they respond to. So there's a lot of opportunities to do some cool combo attacks against enemies, and frankly, for some of them, you need to do that. Otherwise, you're like going to do no damage during fights and whatnot. And they all have like special abilities. There's 21 characters in total in that game, which is absolutely fucking crazy. The story's decent, and it's a beautiful looking game. It's made by the Skullgirls dev. And yeah, I just can't stop talking enough about it. There's good platforming elements in it. Although one part does feel maybe a little bit long, like it just goes on for what feels like forever. The fighting is fun, but I wish that there was like a reason to fight in that game other than it just being kind of fun. Like I wish you got gold or something that you could get, but if you don't like grinding or whatever, you can generally skip most of the fights if you're paying attention and like dodging enemies and stuff like that. Yeah, that game is just so good. It would probably be higher, but I felt like the other games in my list outweigh it a little bit. So that's why it's my number 7. Number 7 for community is Slay the Spire.
Nice.
Sean,
My number
6.
6 is Life is Strange 2.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Not a surprise that I'm a big Life is Strange fan. I've played every season that they put out. I believe the first Life is Strange was my game of the year that year.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of narrative-driven games quite a bit, and this one was good. Not a lot of people were talking about Life is Strange 2. And I don't quite understand why, but I do understand. I from what I understand though, it was a bit of a commercial failure, which is disappointing because I think this one is just as strong as the first season. Um, there's a really touching story between these two brothers that are kind of on the run from the police, while you have to kind of figure out how you're going to deal with your younger brother having superpowers. And it there's a real fine line between like how you need to cater to your brother, if you should push him, how you should teach him, and I think it does a really good job with that. And the ending is, I was so super happy to see that the ending totally stuck the landing. There's a whole bunch of different endings you can get. I watched the video online, seeing all the different ones. I'm happy with the one I got. I think that was relevant, but they all go in pretty unique and different ways, and it's really cool. Each episode I have, like, there's a highlight of each episode, which I think that's probably the best thing you can say, is there's no like weak episode or weak component to the 5-episode series. You'll have a good time with all of it if you like those games. So, again, it was like a commercial failure from what I understand. So I recommend checking it out if you did like Life is Strange 1 and wrote this off for whatever reason, because I think it is just as strong as the first one, and you'll have a good time with it.
Cool. John, number 6.
My number 6 was Katana Zero. Again,
Nice.
like we talked about earlier, excellent platformer, nice combat, nice time mechanic simulate controls. The idea is basically you have to figure out how to get through a room as stylishly and as safely as possible. And there was just a little cool things you could do. There was nice little puzzles you could figure out as well for getting like extra content. There's other extra weapons you can unlock.
It's very Hotline Miami.
Yeah. And there's like little variances in the story. There's you can kind of mess with some characters, unlock hidden fights and stuff. I really liked a lot about that. I just really wish they had put more out. I know they are still working on the DLC, and I'm kind of excited for more, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, cool. My number 6 was Yooka-Laylee, and I talked at length about why. Okay, number 6 for the community, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Okay.
I am so curious where this community list is going to go, because it is, some of the ones that I thought would be at the top are like pretty low.
Yeah,
like Kingdom Hearts, for example.
I'm pretty sure I know what the number 1 is, but
okay,
I'm
well,
probably
I guess
wrong.
we'll find out.
Okay. I guess we're at top 5 now. So number 5.
Top 5.
John.
Top 5. My number 5 game is Creature in the Well.
Wow.
Oh shit, that was this year.
Yeah. I had this under surprising for a long time.
Yeah, this game is a surprise. It came out of nowhere. It kind of left out of nowhere. No one really talked about it much. But for whatever reason, it grabbed me, and it just like clicked like right off the bat.
Me too.
It's a weird pinball dungeon crawler where you are a robot sporting like a tunic, like a ripped, like a cool cape, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in like a town surrounded by a desert storm, and you're just kind of going deeper and deeper into the well where there's some creature in there that is causing the storm. And it's just interesting from like a lore standpoint of like what is going on in this world, who built all this stuff. You come across different robot engineers and stuff like that. It's just it sets a really good scene. And it just makes you want to learn more. But the gameplay is you basically contain these like energy orbs with the swing of your bat, and then you can send them out to pinball around the areas. It starts off harder than the game actually is, which I think put off a lot of people. They make you have to do a lot of like really precise shots in that first dungeon. But then you pretty immediately get a weapon that makes things a lot easier because it creates like a little laser pointer across the screen, which makes lining things up super easy. And then you get all the weapons do something pretty cool. Like I was bouncing between a few of like, oh, this scenario calls for this scenario calls for that. Like it would usually with a lot of these games, you're going to just stick with like whatever the strongest thing is. But the fact that I like had different build outs that I was jumping between definitely had me more engaged.
Yeah.
It also has like a really kind of interesting look. It's like this like flat cell shading. And it's just kind of cool. The boss fights are cool. Like it's not pinball in the sense of you're like on a table, but there's definitely a pinball aspect to it, and it worked for me. Yeah. And I think it's like a like the right length. It's about 8 hours long. I had a lot of fun with it. It's a cool time.
Yeah, for sure. John, number 5.
My number 5 is River City Girls.
Nice.
Always loved River City Ransom, one of my favorite NES games. It was nice seeing a stylized WayForward beat 'em up brought by them. Combat felt really nice. They added so many different combos and like just ways to fight in there that felt really satisfying.
This has a good soundtrack.
Yeah, excellent soundtrack. Yeah. Just like a fun presentation, like a good way of like kind of showing off the history of River City Ransom and Kunio games in general. Like it was really fun. My only gripe is again the ending. The ending did not stick the landing, to say the least.
It's a bummer.
Yeah. But I did like it a lot. It was one of the few games I found myself actually replaying to get like the extra endings and unlock everything. So yeah. That's why it's up here.
Okay. Number 5 for me. Control.
Control's also on my list, so I will talk to you about some Control for sure. I'll be happy to talk to you about some Control.
All right. So at first glance, Control seems like a pretty good third-person shooter, when really the third-person shooting is the least interesting thing about that game because everything else is so good. Basically, it's weird because it's like you actually want to use your powers more, and they all feel like super useful. And I found by the end that I was using my powers more than my gun most times, to do like everything basically. I will say it's kind of weird. The reason why this is a little low on my list is because I don't care at all about the main story, and I kind of don't care about the characters. All the side stuff is fucking amazing though. It's like it was my favorite game of 2019 to read and like logs and like see all the side content for sure. I love the world that they're building, and I want to see more come out of it, basically. Otherwise, it would have been higher. I think, like, the main story stuff is, I don't care about her brother as much as, like, I'm supposed to because I'm her or whatever. Like, the character does, but I don't. I care more about getting this traffic light that I have to, like, stop at when it's red. Otherwise, it teleports me back to the beginning of the room. Or like the weird fridge that keeps eating people into its weird dimension. That game is like just nothing but just a shit show of awesome stuff happening. And yeah, I can't say more good things about it. I want DLC for it so bad.
I almost have like nothing negative to say about Control personally. I like the gunfighting. I think that you have this pistol that transforms into like whatever gun you need it to be is cool. There's like a sniper one that like you like build up and then it shoots really strong, and that one's cool. The machine gun version's really cool. Also, the gun just like transforms, like it just kind of hovers with you and transforms, which that's just cool visually. The way you get it is cool, with the director just offing himself, and it's like, now you're the director, and Jesse's like, yes,
okay.
that's okay. I am the director, thank you. I actually do like the story. I think it goes to some weird places. They like don't give you enough information about it, but they do give you enough information about like her past and she like the weird ghost in her head. Like I like all that stuff. This seemed like an episode of Twin Peaks and an episode of X-Files. I love that you go to the weird motel
Right.
repeatedly to do these weird puzzles, and then like you just warp around. The janitor Autie is weird and crazy, and I like that stuff. The ashtray maze might be my favorite section of a game from the entire year. Like that might be my favorite part of a game. That was
Okay.
such a cool and fun moment. Um, and yeah, like Paul said, the powers are very cool. Like the first time you get like caught off guard with you know you don't have any bullets left, and you just like instinctually try to grab something, and a chunk of the wall rips out because you can just grab anything you need and throw it
Yeah.
at enemies. That's super cool. But yeah, you mentioned the collectibles. These are the best collectibles I've ever come across in a game.
Easy.
I
Yep.
never read little lore books or notes or like audio log stuff, even after Control. I still don't. I
Oh.
check a little bit longer now just in case they're real good, because
Yeah.
Control did it real well. Still not that interesting. I don't care about, you know, the family that died in this hut or whatever.
Sure.
But every little story in those collectibles was like a short story. Like it was like tell a scary story in 3 sentences, and then they do
Yeah.
it. And the way they redact some of the info is like funny and teasing in just the right way. Like I could not get enough of that stuff. People who work in this weird building they have to just put up with all the weird stuff that the building does, but they're just regular people. Like, has anyone been able to locate the bathroom? It moved again. Like that's just
Yeah.
one of the
The
Lord things.
memos
Or
and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, the memos of like my room is covered in post-it notes. I hate working on this floor.
Yeah.
Or like and like when you finish the ashtray maze and you come across some memos where the scientists are like the ashtray maze is to have really important people only be able to get through it, and then people, some of the engineers there are like, how does the janitor keep getting over here? I thought there was like blocks for this stuff. Like it is so interesting. And that's not even talking about the objects of power that you were talking about.
Mhm.
Like the fridge that you cannot close your eyes or look away from, or else like it gets you. So a
Yeah.
guy has to sit there forever, and there's a dude trapped for the whole game there that you need to like relieve. The rubber duck, like there's so much love in there. And the fact that they're coming out with DLC that ties to Alan Wake
Yeah.
is like, I am the exact Venn diagram for that. Like I can't think of a better thing for me. Thank you so very much, Remedy.
Yeah.
Like I just had Control grabbed me in such a strong way this year.
Yeah. It's a really cool game. It basically, if you're listening to this and you like SCP and reading like those like short things on Reddit, even like this is probably a game up your alley, just straight up. Community number 5, The Outer Worlds. Sean, what is your
Okay.
number 4? Yeah, number 4.
Number 4 is The Division 2.
Okay,
God,
God, that was this year?
that
was
was
this year, yes.
yeah.
Division 2 it's more of The Division, which I enjoyed quite a bit. I came to The Division late. It was added to Game Pass, and I went through it co-op. And a lot of the same reasons I liked Division 2. It's a great co-op game. I play a
Yeah.
lot of games co-op. That does a lot for me. I have quite a bit of fun with that. And The Division is just a really easy way for people to jump in and out of. I thought the environment designs of each level were pretty unique and enjoyable, going through the different kind of museums in DC. Made for some pretty cool shootouts. The enemies were like, the AI is pretty interesting in how they'll try and flank you. You can't just stand there and shoot from one bit of cover like it's a Gears game. You need to be moving around. You need to be using your abilities. And that was a lot of fun. When you have a whole crew of people just like running through and grabbing the loot, it's a really good time. It's what, you know, probably a lot of the better players in Destiny have really clicked in. But for me, it was the Division 2. I like that they are still supporting it with a new mission here and there. So I still jump into it and play the story stuff when I can. I can't tell you a thing about the story. I couldn't tell you a single character's name in that game. except there's a president at one point. And I don't even remember what happens to the president. But it doesn't matter. No one's playing this game for the story. It's just a good multiplayer shooter with like some good feeling guns and some cool environments to loot and shoot your way through. So Division 2 is a really enjoyable game.
Yeah, that's a super good game. And the way they've been supporting it with stuff coming out that's like good and interesting content has been super good too. Number 4, John.
Blaster Master Zero 2. This was the one I forgot came out this year and had to re-add because I love the original Blaster Master Zero. It was a really good reimagining of the original Blaster Master game on the NES. They like added a nice bit of story to it. They added some cool elements and everything. And then they were like, hey, how about we just make our own version of this? Like, how about we just take these characters and just do whatever the fuck we want? Because now we don't have to worry about like remaking something.
Yeah.
And it's really good. They made their own characters. The boss fights are interesting, as Inti Creates always does. I was really invested in as I was playing it, trying to figure out how to like solve the actual storyline issue that was going on and how to just what would happen by the end, considering the directions that Blaster Master Zero 1's ending went in. It was just a solid, fun game to play all around, and I just really enjoyed it. My only real bummer is that Blaster Master Zero 1 had a lot of extra stuff unlock after you beat the game and a lot of like extra DLC stuff, and they're not at that point with this game yet. Like when you beat Blaster Master Zero 1, you unlock hard mode and a bunch of other like extra options, and this one had nothing that unlocked after I beat the game. But it was a longer game, which I guess was meant to balance that out. And they are still doing DLC for it because they've already added one new character. So I'm just curious to see what they're going to keep doing with that game and if they're going to do a 0-3 because there is a sequel bait as well at the end.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I still have to finish the first one.
Yeah, Paul, I think you would like them both, honestly.
Yeah, I really liked what I played of the first one. I just didn't get back to it. Okay, my number 4.
All right.
Forgive me for being presumptuous, Sean, but do you want to talk about the Outer Worlds with me?
I'd love to talk about the Outer Worlds with you. And this is actually my number 3.
Okay, so
I was about to
it'll
talk
tie
about
in.
it anyway.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So, I'll preface this by saying I hate Fallout New Vegas. Mainly the fact that I don't like the setting. It's like obviously the better game between that and 3, but I liked 3 setting more, so it had a better, more special place in my heart. It was really nice to play an Obsidian Fallout game because they do the dialogue stuff and like all that's the character building and world building stuff way better. So I really, really just fell into the Outer Worlds and kind of lost like a month of my life basically to it.
Yep.
Let me just double check. I think it's the only game this year where I actually went and like made sure to seek out every single quest I could and do like really wring out everything I feel like I could out of it. So much so that when one faction started really hating me, I was considering reloading a save from like 20 hours before just so I could get one quest done that was under my failed.
Wow.
I didn't because that's ridiculous. But everything about this game, like if we're not even just talking about all the character and dialogue stuff, which everybody knows that they do well, let's talk about the stuff that's like that has like real ramifications of how you play the game, like getting like what's the word for it? Like if you fall off, this is the first one that happened to me. If you fall off of things too much and take fall damage, you could get crippled legs basically, or like broken legs. You can take like debuffs essentially to get a perk point to put into something else. And the way I played it is that anytime... Are they called
flaws? Was that
flaws, yeah. What they were called? Yeah, I think so. So every time a flaw came up, I forced myself to take it, which I don't necessarily recommend because some of them are fucking brutal. Like one of them just basically made my character an idiot, but that also made it so that I was able to get the super secret ending where the idiot does something and something bad happens.
The stupid route. Okay.
Yeah.
I hear that's a fun ending. I definitely didn't do it. I need to look into it, what it is though.
You know what the ending is, right? Like in your head?
Yeah. I beat the game, yeah.
Yeah. It's
You don't need no spoilers.
No.
You don't need to talk about the spoilers.
It's before you do the end part, there's like a thing where it's just like, we really recommend you don't do this thing. The idiot version is literally just push the big button and you can just like end the game in a terrible way. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, so the fact that like how you play the game can have ramifications on how the game can be played, I think is just like the pinnacle of what game design should be. I think that's just perfect game design right there, even if it's like bad. Some of the flaws are terrible. Like I don't
I
necessarily
never took a
recommend
single
doing-
flaw. I actually didn't think the perks were like that interesting.
Yeah, no,
Um,
the perks aren't that great, but some of the flaws are really bad. Like really
yeah, well, I
bad,
just didn't take
so,
any
yeah.
of the flaws because it was like not worth getting the perk point. Like
Mhm.
I didn't care about the perks, and that's I do have there are some pretty lows to the Outer Worlds. Like I think the highs are very high. Obviously, I think that because
Sure.
it's my number 3 game,
Sure.
but some of the lows are like the combat's extremely easy,
I didn't
which
find
is
that
fine.
at
Like,
all.
well, I'm playing on normal. I'm assuming you played on hard.
No, I'm playing on normal.
Oh, interesting. I found the combat become like completely breezable pretty early on. But that didn't like bug me because I was enjoying the story and
Right.
learning, meeting all the characters and all the factions and stuff like that. And that's what I was there for. But yeah, like not caring about the perks so much because I didn't care much about the
Yeah.
combat. It was easy to just kind of get through. There are some great characters. Parvati's obviously awesome. I like Ellie and Naoka. I like Vicar Max. But I feel like there's a few characters that they just don't do enough with.
The robot.
The robot for one. Like the best thing that happens with him is that the your spaceship is horny for the robot.
Yeah.
But that's just like a dialogue option that you can kind of stumble into.
Yeah.
That's about it.
But I kind of like
and
that.
then-
The robot shouldn't have personality. It's a fucking cleaning robot. Who cares?
Well, that's the thing is like this game's so silly. Like I wouldn't be surprised if the cleaning robot had like
It had something.
had a quest to go on,
Yeah.
a companion quest. Like and then like that other guy, who he does the drop kick, which I really love, but I forget his name.
Yeah, I don't remember it either.
Yeah, because like he's pretty like forgettable as well.
Yeah.
So I would have liked a bit more with that stuff. Like, and I say that because I'm comparing it to Mass Effect, and the fact that I can even do that
Yeah.
in well regard says a lot about how much I enjoyed the Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
But like Mass Effect is like top tier for this kind of stuff, so it leaves me
Sure.
wanting a bit more. I love that this came to Game Pass. Kind of came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was like my surprise of the year. I don't really touch Fallout games much. They don't do much for me, but this just grabbed me.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was like, oh man, Obsidian is back. They're doing strong. Like this is the first thing since Microsoft bought them. I can't wait to see what they're going to do next with the money they have. That's exciting as well.
Yep.
I will say that Monarch, I think, it goes on a little bit too long.
I'm trying to remember which one that is. Is that the
That's
first
the
area?
acid planet with all the factions and stuff.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
It's like the third planet you go to, or second major planet you go to, or whatever it is. I can't quite remember. That's like the longest part of the game. Especially because the last planet you go to with all the rich people, there's like not even that much combat involved.
Right.
So that one's like relatively short. I would have kind of preferred a bit more of like an even pace between the two, because near the end I was kind of like, I just kind of want to get through this. Like I've been playing like 30 hours at this point.
Mhm.
So I think there's some of the second half pacing could have been a little tighter, but like that first half is like totally like perfect for me. Like you get
Yeah.
the best characters, the best decision making. Like I had a strong bond with my crew for sure. Like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. The community's number 4 was Untitled Goose Game. Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Sean, you said you're 3.
My 3 was Outer Worlds.
John, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, so obviously I've been waiting for this one for a long time. I was a Kickstarter clan. I was a big fan of pretty much all of the Igavania Castlevanias for a long time. So finally getting to see like a new one in that feels just as good as the classics was really refreshing. I did
Mhm.
not get to experience the full thing, but what I played of it, I loved, and it just felt right. So
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
really
need a
good.
Metroidvania that feels like all the old Castlevanias, like you add Bloodstained, it's straight up. Like I'm just happy that it's also a Kickstarter game that turned out to actually be what it advertised, because after like Mighty Number 9 and stuff, a lot of people were nervous about this and how
Yeah.
long it took for these to come out.
Yeah,
But the fact that both Bloodstained games that came out ended up actually being good was just like, thank God.
totally. Yeah. Super good game for sure. We're at number 3, right?
Yep.
My number 3 is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
I'm surprised it's only at 3, but I'm not completely surprised.
I forgot you played this.
Yes. I need to go back and finish it now that crunch time for every other 2019 game is done. The way people talked about this game put me off of it for a while. I didn't want to be part of like everybody overhyping it or whatever, so I started playing it when the hype for it had died down. But yeah, this game is absolutely phenomenal.
You mean right after it won Game of the Year at the Game Awards?
No, I played it before Game Awards.
Oh, okay. I thought you played it in Crunch Time, you said.
Yeah, crunch time was after the Game Awards till now for other stuff.
Okay.
Hence like Indivisible and blah blah blah. Yeah, that game is just such a nice fresh take on what From Software like Souls like games should be, because it doesn't play like a Souls game at all. It's very people say that it plays more like Tenchu, and they're totally right. You play as kind of like a shitty ninja instead of like some beefy dude. So you have to like really, you shouldn't be running into battle against a guy like Samurai, for instance, who is trained to like fuck your shit up. Basically, you need to kind of be a little sneakier, take out all his guards or whatever, just like attack from the shadows, get in a cheap shot if you can, down to the point where there's like literally an item to basically throw sand into the dude's face to get like some of his guard down and shit like that. And just the way it kind of controls like Jedi Fallen Order, but like to the extreme, where it's very parry focused, and every time you fight against another swordsman of some sort, it just feels like those giant battles you would see in like sword fighting movies or whatever, where there's two people just clashing swords for like an hour and you're like actively part of it. It's really, really difficult in a way that I wasn't even prepared for, but every time I feel like I do anything in that game, I feel like I've earned it, and I fucking love that feeling. And that's a feeling that even the Souls games don't really have anymore, because they kind of formulaic in how they are, where it's just like, get this item, buff up this stat, and then circle strafe around something. This game basically doesn't have stat buffing or anything. Everything that you accomplish in it is accomplished by you getting better as a player, and it's just basically perfect in that regard. I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to see more. Number 3 for community was Mario Maker 2.
Okay.
All right.
Getting down there. Sean, what's your number 2?
My number 2 was Control, which I talked about already.
All right.
Okay.
So my number 2 is Devil May Cry 5.
Nice.
Okay.
I was wondering where it would be.
Yeah, it was very high
This
up.
was my guess for number 1, so I don't know what your number 1 is.
I wouldn't be surprised if this was also the community guess for number 1. Devil May Cry 5. It's Devil May Cry. It's back. It's good. It's thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Hey, DMC is awesome.
Yeah, but it's not the Devil May Cry. It's not the Dante I grew up with. That's the thing. I respect the direction they went with in DMC. I respect that studio for doing that. I like what Ninja Theory did with that. But I mean, I was invested with the characters at this point. I didn't need to see an alt universe of those characters. I just wanted to see more of those characters.
Yeah.
And that's what they did with 5. I still don't like V.
Sure.
I still think he's a trash character, but I like pretty much like everything else about that game.
He is weird. That's true.
Yeah, no. I was very excited for this when this got announced. I think it was actually my surprise of last year, if I want to say.
Probably.
No, it was not. No, it was not actually. It's not on the list, but it was a surprise announcement. So happy that this came out and that it was good, and it looks like it basically revived the series.
Yeah. Yeah. How could it be your surprise last year? It didn't come out last year.
It got announced last year at E3.
Right. But I mean that okay.
Number 2 is Resident Evil 2 remake for me.
All right, that's what I was
I'm
gonna
also
guess as your
surprised
number
that's
one. Yeah.
same here.
But
when you were talking about it earlier, I was like, ooh, he actually doesn't have it as his number 1.
when I was just like, the only problem with it is that I kind of know every beat of it.
Yeah.
That's honestly a big enough problem for me that there was one other game this year that I was just like, I just love this and keep revisiting it. So we'll get to that.
I think I know your number one, and I'm surprised it's your number one.
Okay. It's hard to talk more about Resident Evil 2, mainly because it is a remake, and I've talked about the enough in the past of what makes it good. But basically, it was really, really nice to revisit this game. It's not even my favorite Resident Evil game, number 2 out of all the old ones. So it was nice to revisit it though. More than anything, it makes me excited to see remakes or reboots of maybe some other really bad Resident Evil games that came out back in the day. Probably not, but maybe. I mean, with Resident Evil 3, who knows? Depending how that does. But yeah, it was just really cool to see a new interpretation of the events of Raccoon City and Claire and Leon, and the fact that you can buy their old shitty PlayStation polygon suits is great. Mr. X is scary as fuck and was one of the most stress-inducing things of this year, next to Baba Is You. Yeah, there's just so many good things I could say about that game, but there's one other game this year that I just blew me away, so that's why it's number 1. Sean, do you want to take a guess as to what my number 1 is? And I won't say either way. I'm just curious.
No, I'm good.
Okay. What's your number 1? Oh no, wait. Number 2?
Community.
Cadence of Hyrule was real high up there. So
my game. Oh, so now we're gonna do what the people guessed, right?
Oh, you're right. Yep. Sean.
So part of the community survey was guessing what each of our game of the years would be. So yeah, let's start with mine.
Sean, the community guessed that your game of the year was Control.
Close. Second. Very close. My game of the year is Apex Legends.
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, Nathan guessed this when we were talking in person a while back here.
I play this game almost every single day. I just keep doing it. It is such an easy thing to just jump in and jump out for 15 minutes. The co-op aspect of it, it just grabbed me. The battle pass was enjoyable. Each of the seasonal events were fun. It is my go-to when I'm playing co-op with my buddy. We play a couple rounds of Apex to do some of the daily challenges, and then we move on. It's like a routinely thing every day. Every time we play, we do about 30 minutes of Apex. Then we play something else. It is the easiest thing for me to jump in. It reminds me of Overwatch of I got 20 minutes. That's enough for a game. Let's do it. I have such a blast with Apex. And although Control again was extremely high up there, just from a sheer numbers standpoint, I played so much Apex Legends this year. So that's my game of the year.
Okay, John, the community was split 3 ways for you. They weren't really sure.
3 ways.
So they
fully split?
Fully split. Completely
okay, all right.
Yep. 33% for each one of these. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night,
which was
Devil
number 3.
May Cry 5,
which was number 2,
and Resident Evil 2 Remake,
which was number 8.
So
interesting. All right,
a little off, but what was your game?
Tetris 99.
Nice. Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It just completely blew me away. I had basically stopped caring about multiplayer Tetris and then just got awash with feelings of nostalgia while playing it. I love the new take on it. It was just so fun chasing down a win. It was just, I loved every part of it. I loved taking part of the Maximus tournaments to try to get the new skins. I love all the extra stuff that they added.
Yeah.
There was just so much about it that just kind of rekindled my love of Tetris. And I just love that it's just one of these projects that came out of nowhere, was basically free, and just they keep doing so much with it. So yeah, no, Tetris 99. And I'm gonna be real, if I had put more time into Devil May Cry 5, it probably would have been number one. There's a
Fair.
number of games. There's at least one game in particular I'm looking at on my pile of shame where I know if I had played it, it probably also would have been in the running for number one, which I'm surprised no one even mentioned.
Okay.
But yeah, it's yeah, it ended up just eking everything out. It's a game that I can definitely see myself playing a bunch this year as well.
Cool. The community guessed my game of the year was Resident Evil 2 Remake, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed.
Number two.
Sean, what were you like? Oh, I think I know what it is.
I thought you were about to do Baba Is You.
No, that was my number 10.
Okay, well, one of us isn't really paying attention. So.
Okay, fair enough. My game of the year was Slay the Spire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah. For all the reasons I said much earlier tonight that we were talking about, it's a game that just kind of like invented its own genre basically, and is still the top tier in it, even though like other games do stuff from it and like put their own spin on it. I still go back to Slay the Spire consistently, and that new character is out, so they keep adding some stuff.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
I mean, I don't want to keep talking about it because I did a lot before, but yeah.
All right.
My game of the year.
Community game of the year?
Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Knew it.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. Honorable mentions time?
Honorable mentions.
Let's do it.
Sean, what do you have for honorable mentions?
So I'm going to get through a couple that we've already kind of talked about. I'll just list them off, and then I'll say one that I actually do have.
Yeah.
We've talked about Ape Out. We've talked about Risk of Rain 2. We've talked about Untitled Goose Game.
Okay, yeah.
We talked a little bit about Death Stranding. It's still positive for me.
Okay.
Game we have not talked about that is on my honorable mentions is Shape Shifting Detective.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sure. Because that's just a real silly FMV game. With a very good actor who knows his FMV games really well.
Sure.
And it's just a fun time. It's on iPad. I can't recommend this enough. This is a good like 2-3 hours of just silly murder mystery. So there's that one.
Okay.
Are we doing one at a time? How are we doing this?
Sure. John, what's an honorable mention you have?
Sure. Baba Is You. I honestly really love that game a lot. It grabbed me pretty well.
Yep. Do you want to give another one since we've talked about it?
Sure. Well, the problem is I only have 3 honorable mentions, and 2 of them we've already talked about. Slay the Spire was my other one.
Oh, okay.
I kept it out of my top 10 primarily because I considered it already out because it was like an early access game for a couple years.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, no, that was also a fun game that I didn't think I was really going to get into, despite the fact that I knew I liked deck building games.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I mean, the ones we've talked about already that I'll just get out of the way. Division 2 is fucking great. I love it. Yeah. That's an honorable mention for me. Katana Zero was on the list for a long time until like I started rearranging and remembering some other things existed. That's a great game. Same with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. That's like, if there was like a number 11 and 12, those would probably be there.
I'm surprised that one's not on your list.
Bloodstained?
Yeah.
It just got pushed off, basically. SteamWorld Quest was a shout out that I wanted to do as well, but you had it on your list. Makes sense. That's a great game.
Good game. Yep.
And Devil May Cry 5, we talked about, obviously. That's just a fucking great return to form, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait for more of it. So I'll add on the pile here and say Wargroove was one of the best tactics game I've played in a long time, and I need to go back and finish it, but I absolutely love that game.
Yeah, new DLC coming out soon.
Yep. What about you, Sean?
I'll say another one. I'll say Heave Ho.
Okay.
One of the most kind of unique and silly multiplayer games I played last year. I could pretty much recommend this to anyone, even if they're a gamer or a normie. It is fantastic at parties. It never ceases to just be absolutely hilarious. And even though I've seen the first few stages like several times now, it is still just a delight to play. Heave Ho is very good. I cannot recommend you getting that enough for like your Switch.
Yeah. John, do you have another honorable mention you want to throw on?
I got one more, and it's my boy Metal Wolf Chaos XD finally coming out stateside. I basically, again, didn't make this on the top 10 because it's technically been out for a decade and a half. But the fact that people can finally experience that game in general is really awesome.
Yep. Okay. What am I going to throw on here? Oh, Code Vein, Anime Souls. That game's really fun. I have a few problems with it, which kind of kept it off my top 10, in that I don't like a lot of control things that they chose for it. But other than that, it's super solid, and I really like a lot of what it does. It just wasn't one of my top 10. So it gets an honorable mention, though, for sure. Sean, do you have any more?
Yep, I have 4 more.
Oh, okay. I have like 2 more, 3 more.
Okay. What the Golf?
Okay.
This is just silly fun. Like, I can't recommend What the Golf enough. Another game that anyone could play, gamer or not. This is an Apple Arcade recommendation for sure, but it's on like the Epic Store and other platforms. I think anyone would have fun with this. Like, this might be one of the best golf games, hands down.
Cool. Throw back old school a little bit and say WoW Classic is great and reminds me why I can't play that game. I don't have enough time. Like, I got super sucked into it for about a week or two, and I was just like, oh, this is bad. I need to just not do this because I will get like sucked into this grind again. But yeah, it was nice to see that game have a community again and people actually talking in the in-game chat and helping each other out and being shits to each other and all the things that make an MMO fun. It was nice to see Warcraft have that again, because it's been not that for a long time.
John's done. I'll go again. Tangle Tower. I was absolutely in love with the visuals, the writing, the characters, the presentation of this game, and then the fact that I needed to pixel hunt and it just blocked me at the end put such a sour taste in my mouth. That was extremely depressing, but the writing was so surprisingly good up until that point.
Cool. Blasphemous, 2D gothic Souls-like type of game that was really, really cool. Again, 100%ed it, Metroidvania type thing. The only reason it didn't really make it is because it was outclassed by some other Metroidvania-ish stuff. And it was one of those situations where, I mean, Bloodstained didn't even make it. And so there was no way Blasphemous was going to make it, even though I really enjoyed it. Maybe too easy at times, and then a weird like difficulty hump every now and then, but I really enjoyed a lot of what that game had to offer.
My next one is Mini Motorway, successor to Mini Metro, one of my all-time favorite mobile games. It's more of that, just not as polished. I don't think it's as good as Mini Metro, but the fact that it's different enough and giving me more of that still does quite a bit for me. So I was pretty excited about that.
Sure. My final one, and this is going to reveal the Capcom fanboy shill that I am, is Teppen. I fucking love that game. It's real good. It's real easy to jump in, have a game or two. Yeah, it's just fast. You just like throw down some cards or whatever. So it does have the problem of it being a card game, which means I could sink money into it, and I'm trying really hard not to, so I'm not playing it as much as I would normally. But it's just a fast card game battler with Capcom characters that I love. That's really all it is, and it's so good. I really like it a lot.
And my last shout out I want to give to is A Plague Tale.
Oh,
I think that game is just special, and good visuals, interesting story, good characters, and it's just a weird, small little thing that I think is punching above its class. I think that's worth playing, and it just got added to Game Pass on PC. So
cool. All right. I guess now I'm just making sure there wasn't like a community anything for this.
No, I think
No.
communities for the next one though.
Communities for the next one for sure. Yeah. So now we're gonna talk about our pile of shame, things we didn't get to either in time or yeah. Again, maybe the John category for
John, how many of
obviously.
these are in your list?
Let's find out.
I have 6.
I have 4.
17.
17. Okay, so John, maybe you do you want to say 3 for
Sure.
every one we say?
Sure.
Okay.
As
Go ahead.
starting. Is Sean still starting or yeah?
You might as well start,
Yeah,
John.
you
We
might
got to
as well
get through
start.
you.
Cool. Death Stranding. Still, despite I want to play it more because of the mess that the reaction was. But I
Sure.
just never had the time to do it because it came out while I was gone on a trip.
Yeah.
And then when I got home, I left again. So
You're like one of the only people I would recommend needs to play it. It's one of those games where it's just like, I think you need to see mechanically how that game
I'm
is.
so curious what your reaction to this game would be. I
Me
have
too.
no
Yeah,
idea.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
me too.
It was on my desk within arm's reach for the longest time, and then it's just like I'm too busy. I can't. I
Yeah.
have to put it back.
Yeah.
Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Second chance at trying to play that through that game. Just
It's a good
never
game.
got. And Dragon Mark for Death. Basically 2D Monster Hunter done by Inti Creates. Heard good things in multiplayer, but just never got around to it as well.
Yeah, I heard good things about that one too. Sean, go ahead.
Disco Elysium.
That's me too. Pile of shame. Yeah.
Everyone is talking about this game so much. I want to play it. I just need some time.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Back to John.
All right. Crackdown 3. Despite what Sean said about it earlier, honestly, I've not played a Crackdown, so I figure 3 would actually be a good stepping on point.
You haven't played any Crackdown?
No.
Yeah, 3's a totally. You might really like it.
Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I literally have 2 copies of this game because I got sent a code.
Oh.
And then one of my regular viewers works for Activision. He's like, yeah, dude, I got a free copy. Just take it. And honestly, it looked like my issue with Souls games are like weird quirks. Like I don't like stamina. I don't like slow combat. And it looked like this game kind of fixed a lot of that because it was more faster paced, more about parrying and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed more interesting to me. I just never sat down and gave it a shot.
Okay, fair enough.
And then Mortal Kombat 11.
That's on my pile of shame too.
Months.
Yep.
This game was
You
excited
didn't
for
play
months.
Mortal Kombat 11?
I played like, so I popped the game in to play it because I was like, oh, sit down and play story mode. And it's one of those like, oh, you got to wait an hour to install the game. So
I remember
did,
you
like,
talking about this.
training mode for Johnny Cage, and then I moved. So
it's a good game.
Yeah.
I'm like surprised
that's
you didn't play it because I know you like Mortal Kombat.
That probably would have ended up on my top 10 if I had actually played it.
Yeah, I bet. The next one, and I plan to get to this one very soon, is Outer Wilds. I did play it, but I feel like I didn't give it enough of a chance with what people were talking about around Game of the Year time, and I need to give it another try, like to really try and see what people are talking about.
Okay. I only have 2 more. So, do you have another one, Sean? You want to do?
Yep. Indivisibles.
Okay.
This is another one I plan to get to very soon.
Fair enough. Wolfenstein Youngblood. I like Wolfenstein games. I just didn't get around to it, and maybe I will at some point.
I don't know if you need to, man.
That's what I've heard. I still would like to try it though. Basically, Rage 2 has been filling my like shooter itch currently. So, but yeah, I would
do it in co-op. That'll help.
Okay, fair enough. John, do you have some more?
I sure do. Judgment. So done by the Yakuza devs, a spin-off game. Looked really interesting because I always like detective work and stuff like that, but just never came out at a bad time. Never got to play it. Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Another commitment.
Yeah. Fire Emblem Three Houses. Too long a game for me to probably actually dig into, but there was so much about it. I actually really liked the teaching aspect that they were showing during like the pre-release stuff. And that super caught my attention and why I wanted to play it, and then just never did.
Okay,
And I also had Control on there as well because
Yeah.
I like what I had seen pre-release looked cool. I'd heard some good buzz after it came out, and I like weird, trippy stuff, and Remedy does that pretty well.
Yeah, I think you'd like it for sure.
I'll jump in with John Wick Hex. No real reason. I still want to try it out. I own it,
Okay.
so
Sure. Do you have any? I have one more. So do you have any more? Or
I have 2 more. So go ahead with yours, Paul. If you want.
okay. Gears 5. I've been
Gears 5 is good.
I've been
Yeah,
waiting.
Gears 5's on mine as well. That's the one where I'm like, this. If I had actually played this, it probably would have been in my top 3.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I really like Gears games.
I don't know if it's that
Yep.
great, but
I've been meaning to play it with a buddy, and we just haven't like synced up times yet. So that's really why I haven't played it, and I don't want to play it alone first or anything like that. So yeah, but that's it for me.
All right. I already said Gears 5. Astral Chain. Platinum games. Always love playing those. Just never got around to this one.
Sure.
Daemon X Machina. Another Switch game that kind of slid under the radar. I actually played a bit of this on stream. Really liked it. And then just never got around to playing it after that.
Yeah.
And they're still doing DLC for this too. They had like some surprising crossover with, I'm trying to remember what series it was. I think it was The Witcher.
Yeah, it was
That is
something
weird.
Yeah, I was just like, what the hell? Yeah, actually it is The Witcher. Yeah, adds Geralt and Ciri.
Great. Yep, there it is.
I'll jump in with one. Knights and Bikes. This just kind of looks up my alley in terms of like, kids just being kids, going through a story, very Night in the Woods-esque, which I love quite a bit. Yeah, it's a co-op one, which is hard because it's a like PlayStation exclusive when it comes to consoles, which is harder because me and my buddy primarily do Xbox, so that's just why I haven't like kind of pulled the trigger on that.
Gotcha.
Is it time for me to just keep listing all of mine
I
now?
think so.
I have
I'm
one
done.
more, so if you want to list 3 more, I could jump in.
Sure. AI The Somnium Files. This was
That's my other one.
Nice.
It was
Yeah.
done by the VLR team, and I've heard amazing things about it.
Might I recommend playing 999 first?
Ooh, are there actually? Well, that's 3 games to worry about. Are you just saying just 999 first?
I'm just saying if you're like, I'm not saying these connect together. I don't believe they do. I'm just saying 999 is extremely good. And from what I've heard of the 4, it's like the best of the 4. I can definitely say it's the best of the trilogy.
I have played some of 999. I just never got around.
You got to play like all of it, man. It's all about those endings.
I know, and that's the thing. Like, it's a time commitment. The problem is time commitment
for sure. But yeah, for the same reason, I'm a huge VLR fan, and this is the next game from like that guy. So I want to see what weird stuff he's doing with visual novels.
Yeah. Speaking of time commitments, Dragon Quest 11S. Really wanted to play through Dragon Quest 11 because it looked extremely good. But
yeah,
I had that on last year. I had the PS4 version I was going to play, and then I'm like, oh, the Switch version. I'll probably play that because it's portable. No. And also, speaking of time commitments, Sayonara Wild Hearts, because apparently I can't even fit in a 1-hour game in my schedule anymore.
Yeah, that's a short one. That should be pretty easy to just fit in there somehow. That's what you said on my
game.
Right.
So... You said your last one because it was AI. Yeah. Indivisible as well. I was following that one for a while. I love Lab Zero, so I like Skullgirls and stuff. And what I played of Indivisible was good. And Luigi's Mansion 3. I've played the multiplayer mode, and I've fought the final boss, but I have not done anything else in the game.
That's weird.
Yeah. My nephew wanted help beating the final boss. I wasn't going to say no.
Yeah.
Well, I did it by myself.
Proud of you.
Good for you.
Job. You beat that 8-year-old.
Yep.
Okay. So for the community, the top 2 contenders were Luigi's Mansion and Control. For
as the games they wanted to play the most.
Yeah. Okay. For their pile of shame.
Right on.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So
Prediction time.
prediction time. Let's go through last year's predictions for 2019.
Let's see who is the smartest.
All right. Sean, you said Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze isn't the last port from Wii U, but they're not going to do Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Oh man.
Ooh.
They must have done another port, right? A
um.
Wii U port.
That's a
Does Mario Maker 2 count?
no.
No,
I wouldn't
yeah.
say that counts.
I don't
That's a
think it counts
sequel.
either.
Yoshi's Crafted World was a sequel. Oh shit! No, there's no way.
They
There has
stopped
to be
doing
one.
ports?
No, there's no way.
To be fair, I was talking about for all of 2019, and they didn't port Tokyo Mirage Sessions in 2019.
Okay.
But they
Sure.
announced it in 2019.
They did
Sorry,
announce
bud.
it. Um,
And it's out like tomorrow, isn't it?
I plan to buy it after the show.
Okay.
I actually don't.
Yeah, I can't. If we can't think of one, like let's just keep going. I got that one wrong for sure.
Okay. Nintendo subscription finally worth it? Sean, you said no. I said yeah. John said no. This is super subjective.
Yeah, this is very.
I
very
still think no. I mean, they have Tetris 99 going for them.
The fact that I
guess.
play Tetris 99 every day, I'm going to say I was right for me. So,
Tetris 99 does kind of make it worth it, but
I'll let you keep in mind, you guys are paying what, $5 a month for that? 20 a year. No, 20 a year, right?
20 a year?
I've got the
Something like
family pass, so
that.
So you're paying like 60 a year?
it's like 30 or 40 a year. I forget. It's
Okay.
it's cheap. I think it's 35 for the family
And
pass.
some
which
people
covers-
complain about Apple Arcade's $5 a month for the 100 games they have. Just putting that out there.
Okay. Sean, you said functionality for Animal Crossing will be as lame as Splatoon's was.
We don't know. It got delayed, right?
Yeah,
Next
so-
year?
And
So I
that
don't
was
know.
under the subscription thing specifically. I'm just making sure. Yeah.
Oh, I see. With the app.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to double down on that. I bet the app still sucks next year.
Okay. Hold on a second while I grab a notepad.
Shots fired. Come at me, Nintendo. Your app sucks.
Wow. This fucking guy. Okay. Metroid Prime 4 playable? Sean, you said yes. I
Damn it,
said
man.
yes.
Mhm.
John said yes.
Wow. Okay.
That must have
We're
been
way off on
before that,
one.
like, significant delay, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
Had to be, yeah.
Otherwise, we're the stupidest people on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, January 25th, 2019 was when the delay got announced.
So,
So
that
it was literally a week later, or a week or two later
I
after
think
we
2
did our
weeks.
game of the
I
year.
looked up the last show, and I think we did it on the 11th.
Uh-huh.
Does anyone want to double down on that? Will it be playable in 2020?
I don't think it's gonna be playable in 2020, but I think the Metroid Prime trilogy will be.
You mean like a Switch port of the trilogy?
Yes. Yes.
That's a prediction. Sure. Here's what do you think, Paul?
I mean, I'm writing this down, so give me a second. You go with yours.
Well, I mean,
For Metroid Prime 4, yes or no?
oh no, I don't think it's happening.
Okay.
I think as a more interesting question though is, do we get a trailer? Like, does it appear in any way in 2020? Does Nintendo even talk about it?
Yes. Yes. We'll get a trailer.
Yeah, I'll say yes to that as well.
Okay, I'm gonna say no just to see what happens.
Okay.
I feel like they push that back a ways,
Okay.
and that's specifically trailer, right?
Specifically trailer. Yep.
Okay.
Do you want to agree or disagree with the Metroid Prime trilogy on Switch thing?
Yeah, that seems like a no-brainer. I'll go. Yeah, that playable somewhere.
Okay. I don't like Metroid Prime, so I'm not going to bother caring.
I'm not a
But
big Metro Prime either, but there's the prediction.
fair enough. Okay. For Metroid Prime 4, however, we also said, does it come out in 2019? Sean, you said yes, holiday.
What?
Remember, this was before the delay.
I said yes. And John said no, but trilogy port will.
Okay.
I'm dedicated to that trilogy port. It's gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
So John got a half right. Paul and I got it wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I guess in a kind of similar vein. So, John, do you think it comes out in 2020, or do you think it's just playable at like a press event
Trilogy or 4?
trilogy?
Trilogy, I think will be out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trilogy, I
already have it on there.
almost guarantee is like they're sitting on it, waiting for just Prime 4 to be far enough that they can release it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Does another Nintendo console come to online service? Sean, you said yes. I said yes. John said yes. We were
And
asked.
SNES did, right?
We were asked
so it
which
was a safe
console,
bet.
and we all said SNES.
Yeah, we
Okay.
were right.
So that was the
One
safe bet.
further. Does another one come?
Okay, hold on a second. New.
And maybe just
Yeah.
platform. You can include handhelds. Like, do they put Game Boy?
Game Boy is honestly the one I feel is going to come next, because N64 doesn't have enough for them to do the work on it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. So I'll take that one too.
I'll say Game Boy, but I don't think it's going to be this year.
Well, so then yours is just no new platform. I don't think they're going to do another platform so soon either.
Okay, I'll just go with yes. What's the worst that could happen? Okay. Ports or remakes for the 3DS? Sean, you said one more. This is the last year for 3DS. 2019, that is. I said I agreed with you. Probably one more. This is the last year, probably. And John said the same. We all agreed on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Is the 3DS still getting games, or is it done?
Getting P-Cross.
You might be getting some eShop games, but I don't think it's getting any physical released games.
The last I
anymore.
can think of was that like WarioWare game.
Persona Q2 was the last one I remember.
Oh,
coming
that's
out.
right,
yeah.
That was like July. Trying to think here now. Yeah, there was like the Bowser's Inside Story remake.
Oh yeah,
It came out the past year.
that's right. I remember they mentioned it at a Nintendo Direct, and it was like, huh. We're still
And
talking
now
about
that studio no longer exists, so that's over
yeah.
with.
So wait, are we right? We're right about the one more port. The end of the
Yeah.
3DS, is that, are we right?
I would say I would count that
kind
as a right.
of, yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of a bummer thing to be right about, but sure.
And that would
The
mean
Switch exists at least.
that would mean not a single piece of software comes out for the 3DS in 2020 is the prediction you're making.
Oh,
Right?
I'm not saying that. No.
I'll say no more physical pieces of software. Digital,
Okay.
I'll let slide
Sure.
because like people will be releasing like even like trash stuff for the eShop, but no more physical releases for 3DS.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one. I don't know how we
I
would
would-
look up all the eShop stuff.
I would agree with you on that one. So, Sean, are you going to say no more releases, period?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And then I'll be curious what comes out in 2020 for the 3DS when we look that up.
Okay. Game Pass and Gold converge this year? Sean, you said no.
It kind of did.
Yeah, that one's
Yeah.
hard because they did come out with one that like a version that has them both. But you can also still do it separately.
John said no, I said yes.
I feel like the spirit of this one was like there would only be one.
Be one service, right? So it's no, technically.
So that's what I feel like kind of the spirit behind that one is.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Do we want to push that
So
one
then-
forward?
Well, I think the way we reword this one is Series X launches. Is there still a split or do they combine it?
Okay. Should we put that under a whole different, like, when we start talking about console stuff for this year?
Or just like under like Microsoft if we want to split it up between like Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony. I don't know. Whatever you want to do.
Okay. Is there a second iteration of the Switch? Sean, you said yes. I said yes. John said yes.
Yeah,
and
we're right.
there technically was. It was a hardware revision and the Switch Lite.
Yeah, we
so.
got because we got the battery version and the light.
Yep.
So then going forward, Switch Pro. Does it happen this year?
I mean, I'm
No.
going to say yes because I hope it does, but I don't know necessarily, obviously.
I wouldn't be shocked if there was another hardware revision, but I don't think it's the Switch Pro this year.
What
I
about
think
you,
they hold
Sean?
out this year, and then next year they do it.
So you think there will be a hardware revision in some way, just kind of a stealth kind of one, like the battery, but it is not like titled something different.
Yeah.
Like fuck it, I'll switch Pro. Let's do it.
Okay. Okay. Smash DLC predictions. Sean, you had Banjo and Travis Touchdown.
All right, well, I got one of those.
I had Banjo, Hollow Knight, and Celeste.
Got one of those.
And John had Dog with Pipe from Vesperia, a Tekken character, and Sans.
What? Well, one of those was right. So,
Yeah, I don't
why
know.
did I have repeat on there? Was I just picking like a crazy fucking character choice?
I guess so.
man.
I don't even
let's
know.
guess
who that
another.
is.
Let's guess another like couple each.
Well, I'm a little sad Byleth got announced today because that's literally what I would have said.
I mean, I'm gonna.
Dante.
Yeah.
Dante seems like the easy one.
Yep.
And just because like I think I would like it, I'm gonna say Tracer from Overwatch.
Okay. I'm gonna double down with the Hollow Knight.
I would have said someone from Overwatch too.
Who specifically, if you would guess? Does anybody have
Lucio?
a sword?
I probably would have also said Tracer or Diva.
I'll just put both for you. Why not? Do we want to do one more, or?
I like this Professor Mitchell in the chat. Inteleon from the new Pokemon games. I could see them putting him in there now that he has like a gun.
Yeah, there's gonna be a Pokemon. There's gonna be a Pokemon.
All right,
added.
I'm putting Inteleon for you, Sean. John, I'm just gonna put Pokemon question mark for you unless you give me one.
No, that's fair.
I don't know who else I would even want at this point. Yeah, I'm just not going to make another prediction, I don't think. I don't even know who else.
Okay.
Okay. Back up to Sean here. PlayStation 5 announcement? You said yes, but there's no official word given.
What does that mean?
Don't know. Maybe like a leak.
Just get like some rumors.
That might be like
rumors.
It's not either officially confirmed or Or they don't.
Well, I'm wrong. They had official announcement. Like they talked about it. They went to publications.
John and I both just said yes.
Yeah.
Discless Xbox. Sean, you said sure. Apparently.
It happened.
That happened.
Yeah. I also said sure, and John said sure. Yeah. Official word on Scarlet.
Yep. That happened.
Sean said yes. I said yes. John said yes. Okay. This is getting... Oh, okay. I just put Death Stranding question mark, and I'm guessing
we still weren't
does that come
sure
out,
what the fuck was up with it,
or if it was even coming out yet or anything. Right. Because I think
What
we
did
were
answer?
we were still at the point where we were wondering if that was going to be a PlayStation 5 game, and like, so this must be, was it released? Sean, you said no, it wasn't going to be released. I said no. John said yes.
All right.
and it came out on my birthday.
There you go. The inside news.
But the two of us played it.
Yeah, because I was gone for my birthday.
Yeah. New Team Eco game? Sean, you said no.
Yeah, no way.
I said no. John said no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I had a feeling that one.
Yeah. Okay. this seems like those seem like things that we just kind of all talked about, and now these seem more specific. Okay, Sean, you said Crackdown 3 delays prove to make possible difference.
I don't know. What does that even mean? Proves to make a possible difference. From what would we have known what it is, though?
I don't know. But what I said to you after that, apparently, was Crackdown 3 is too little too late.
I feel like that's a closer to sentiment. So
And John
I
agreed
think I'm
with me on
wrong
it,
in that
apparently.
scenario.
Okay, fair enough. Oh no. Sean, Anthem does well.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, actually, to be fair, I think it sold a shit ton of copies.
Okay, fair enough. I responded with Anthem does okay. Not enough for EA though, and they dropped BioWare completely as a studio.
That hasn't happened yet.
I feel like it might have been close, but yeah, it hasn't happened.
You could double down that. You could double down that if you want.
Does it have to be Anthem related? I'm just gonna put EA drops BioWare.
You could do that, sure. I think making like an EA/BioWare prediction would be good from us.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think happens with Anthem in 2020? If you want to say something about Anthem,
Are they even doing anything with Anthem now? Are they
the
still trying
last
to
they've
save it?
said is that they are going to turn it around
They have a team like ready to work on stuff to better it somehow.
or working on stuff. Yeah.
That's why I'm assuming EA got involved. They're like, you guys got to fix this.
Like coming this time next year, are we looking back and being like, man, I can't believe they did it? Like Anthem, yeah. Or are we just like, remember when they talked about making that better? That never happened.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with EA drops BioWare. I don't even necessarily think it's just Anthem related, but
I don't think they're going to do it unless if Baldur's Gate bombs this year, Dragon's Age. If Dragon Age bombs this year, then yeah, they're gone.
okay.
I don't
so-
think they're gonna drop BioWare, but I don't think
They'll
we are
probably
talking-
dissolve it or like shrink it a ton.
I don't think we're gonna be speaking positively about Anthem this time next year.
I'm going to put for Sean, Anthem still sucks, lol.
Sure.
Okay. What do we got here? Is Bungie still around? Sean, you said yes. I said yes.
I wonder what I was referring to. Like, why
John
wouldn't they be
said
around?
yes.
I think it's because Destiny 2 was seeming pretty throttled and didn't have a good reception at launch.
Yeah, because
Was
there's a follow-up.
this
Is
wasn't around the
Destiny
launch,
still
though,
around?
right? Destiny would have been out for a little while, though.
Yeah.
Destiny 2?
Like Destiny 2 would have been out. Like they're on their like third year of content for Destiny 2. Second or third or whatever.
Right,
it is now.
too. Weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Was this?
And
This wasn't around when we knew they were going to break off, was it? Because that happened like
That happened like
mid-last
pretty
year.
suddenly, I believe.
Yeah.
Like, it was like announced one day, and I think it was like during the middle of the year. What were our responses to that?
I mean, the question basically is Bungie still around and is Destiny still around? And we answered yes to both.
So they were right. I don't know why we would have thought that though.
Don't know. Okay. Sean, Diablo Mobile comes out. It's actually okay, but everyone still hates Blizzard. I said
So
I agreed with you on that, apparently. And John didn't care. So he didn't say anything
Yeah,
about it.
that's fair.
So
I
it
don't
didn't
even-
it didn't come out, but everyone
out.
still hates Blizzard. So it's
does
happening.
everyone hate Blizzard? I thought they just moved on.
No, they still hate Blizzard.
They won some people back during BlizzCon, but at the same time, yeah, no, people are still mad.
All right, here's one to make a prediction on. Does
Okay.
Overwatch 2 come out in 2020?
Ooh.
I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say either early access only or no.
John, what about you?
I want to lean no.
Okay.
As much as I would love for it to come out like holiday, I want to say no.
Sure. Okay. There's not a whole lot left from old predictions, so Um, Sean said same with Elder Scrolls Blades in that it comes out and is actually okay.
I think that's the general sentiment is people think that game is fine.
I don't hear people talk about that at all.
Yeah. I
I
never hear
agreed
anyone
with
talk about
you.
it in excited tones.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the way I'm thinking of it is like no one's saying anything like negative about it. No one's just really talking about it. But
Mm-hmm.
It just
So,
exists.
I don't know, like a half right, I guess.
Sure. Fair. The last prediction, apparently, is the Sonic movie is bad.
Well, they had to remake it, so half right.
Yeah, I think that's kind of half right because the trailer was real bad.
Yeah.
But I think we should push that one forward. How are people feeling?
I think it will be okay, but Jim Carrey is going to be the best part.
Okay.
In a similar vein, I'm gonna be like, it's like okay, but just like forgettable. Like we're not really talking about it. It wasn't like terrible or anything. Like it's a kids movie.
Okay. And do we still like Ben Schwartz?
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of how bad this movie is, I'm going to still like Ben Schwartz.
Okay. So, I mean, we all just said yes anyway
Okay.
to that prediction.
Was that the last prediction you said?
Yeah.
All right, we got to make some on the new consoles for sure.
Yep.
Jumping grounds. Let's do price points on the two.
Oof. Ooh, that's
Okay.
gonna be a tough one.
So say a price for both of them.
Oh, fuck. I hate this part.
Yeah.
And don't give a range. Too easy. Just give a price point.
Yep. In US, right?
Mm.
Yeah, in US, that'll
Yeah.
be the first number that comes out.
Yeah. Okay.
Part of me wants to say 500 for both.
I'm saying 500 for PS5.
So here's my thought process. I want to say 500 for PS5
Yeah.
because I think there was like a rumor recently about that as a possibility.
Okay.
There's a lot of rumors about there being a significant PlayStation event in February,
Okay.
which a lot of people are thinking maybe they will like fully announce the PS5 stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
Which makes me think Microsoft would then be responding to the price, and I don't know if they match it or try to undercut it. And I also don't know if they
Right.
could undercut it because I feel like Microsoft really enjoys being able to say they have the most powerful gaming console, and I bet they want to keep that marketing push. So I say 500 for both.
For both. Okay.
Yep.
I'm torn because I feel like one of them is going to be $100 cheaper.
Yeah. I'm just
And
thinking
right
about
now,
it
I can't tell. I'm thinking like Microsoft's going to be the more expensive of the two.
That's what happened at the last generation.
Yeah.
But that was also because they had to pack in Kinect, so maybe they could have hit that price point. I don't know.
I'm changing my answer. I think PS5 comes out at 600 and Xbox undercuts them and goes 500.
I think there's absolutely no way one hits 600.
I think it's the other way around. I think Microsoft does the 600 and Sony stays at 500 because Sony 599 is a cursed number for Sony at this point. They will never touch that again if they can avoid it.
But I don't think Microsoft would do that either.
I don't think Microsoft wants to, but they did that with the X. Wasn't the X like, I might be thinking Canadian. It was like 500 or 600.
X was 500 American.
Okay, in that case. Yeah, actually, I think I might be with Sean on this one, and they're both 500.
I can see that.
Or Microsoft goes 550 and Sony stays at 500.
Make a pick. Pick one. No ranges.
All right, fine. I'll go with you. 500 on both.
Fives. Okay. Paul?
Okay. Yeah. I really, really think 500 for the PlayStation, and I can't see Xbox being higher. So I guess that's probably they probably match
fives?
it.
We're all doing 5s.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
think so.
All right. Stadia. Let's make some Stadia predictions.
Oh, gross. Okay.
Dead by next Thanksgiving,
What do you mean by dead?
as in like no longer supported by Google.
So like Google has dropped Stadia. Can you still use Stadia?
Ooh.
Like, are the servers still online? I guess while you're thinking, Paul, do you have a prediction for Stadia?
No, I really. As the
I'm-
owner of a Stadia, what is your prediction?
Well, I think to make an educated guess, you have to bring Project xCloud into the fold, and how Microsoft is responding, and they just seem so much better than Stadia.
Uh-huh. Do you think Google just ends up like using them, like buying rights to like use it or something? They have all the
Project
money in the
xCloud?
world. Yeah.
Microsoft's pretty huge too. I don't see Google buying this of Microsoft. I think Microsoft has Google in a very interesting spot. The thing is though, is I feel like Stadia will eventually, like, it is the future, right?
I mean, no, not necessarily.
I think that's
Not until there's good you're saying that as somebody with good internet at a fucking technological hub of the world.
right. But I've been seeing reports of like people with like definite worse internet still running fine.
Because I've been seeing video of people with decent internet it running absolutely shitty. So
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. I would like to think it's the future, but it hasn't proven anything yet.
Right. Well, I'm not saying it as it is now is the future, but like its concept is the future, right?
Probably. I would like to think so anyway.
I feel like the big key thing holding Stadia back though is,
The
you know,
internet.
I can't play my games offline, which is a bummer if I'm like, you know, on a plane or something.
Okay, first of all, do you think they add something where that's gone? You can like download them and play them.
Can you download your games? See, I think that's an interesting prediction is, does Google allow you to download these games you're buying?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say yes. I feel like that is going to be key. They would have to do that because Microsoft lets you download your games, obviously.
Yeah. I can agree to that. I think that's like bare minimum what they should be doing anyway. So yeah.
I don't know how to like make this more specific, but their pro membership has to like evolve and become such a better deal. And I'm fine keeping that vague, because then the only way I'm right is if it becomes a substantially better deal. I feel like we would be able to just be like, yeah, it is a much better deal now. We can just agree with that. Do you know what I mean?
So pro membership needs substantial, maybe like
improvements, just like
improvement.
some kind of a substantial improvement.
Yeah.
And I say it gets it, like it gets a substantial improvement. John, did you think about what dead by Thanksgiving means?
No new games being added, but the service stays up for at least another year.
Okay.
But now I'm remembering that Doom Eternal is coming out for it, so that's
right.
going to be the make or break point for it, I feel.
Right.
True.
I mean, they keep buying studios, so like they seemed committed, but
For sure.
But who knows, man? I don't know. Like, I don't see anyone out there really talking nicely about Stadia. Paul, do you have anything to say?
I agreed with you on the Google will allow downloading of games thing. I don't have many predictions for it, honestly. Like, I guess I'll disagree with you on the pro membership needs to be better.
Well, it's more like, are you making the prediction that it does get better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Any more things about like the consoles? Maybe some launch lineup predictions?
I've been trying to think about the launch lineups for both systems. I feel like Sony's is going to be underwhelming again.
I think that's a prediction you could say is the PS5's launch lineup is underwhelming.
Yeah.
And what's kind of interesting about that is most launch lineups are underwhelming.
Yeah.
just from the
But like
nature of it.
usually there's at least like one or two like maker like memorable titles. Like Scarlet's gonna have Halo Infinite unless that gets delayed.
Right. Senua's Sacrifice, maybe?
Mhm.
Or Senua's Saga, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the hint's Hellblade 2, right?
But I mean, like, so this would have been like in news is like Matt Booty from Xbox came out and said for the first like 2 years, like year or two, no first party Microsoft game will be exclusive to Series X. So theoretically, they might have a lot of stuff ready that are going to be going on both. I can't think of anything that's currently announced that's coming out in that time period, but I mean, they have all year to announce something from Double Fine, something from Obsidian, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so yeah, make a prediction on the launch lineups of each of them. Are you sticking with John? The PS5's launch lineup is underwhelming.
Yes.
Okay. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah,
I can't think of
that's
what they
safe.
would really have.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna say, just because of like stuff kind of announced, the Xbox launch lineup is just is better than the PlayStation one. Because I think about all those games they announced at that like Microsoft event a month or two ago, like the new game from Rare and stuff. Like maybe they do something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I think I'll agree with you on that one actually.
Like I feel like unless obviously Sony announces some stuff, the best we're looking at is like a better version of Last of Us 2. You know, stuff like that. That's kind of.
I am feeling like that's going to somehow be a launch title in some way, shape, or form.
I mean, I think it's going to definitely come out first for PlayStation 4, but I think that also just kind of makes the launch lineup a little worse. It's like, well, I already played this game 3 months ago, so that's not very exciting for me.
Yeah.
You know, the big fan. Anything else Nintendo? How about another like big IP? What's their holiday game this year? What IP comes back? After Animal
Rumor is
Crossing?
right now people are thinking it's going to be Breath of the Wild 2. I think it's still too early for that.
I think that's a good one. Yeah. Does Breath of the Wild? So you're saying Breath of the Wild 2 does not come out this year?
No, I'm going to say that's next year's holiday hit.
Yeah, I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 will come out this year either.
Yeah,
I bet we get another trailer, like a gameplay trailer. Like we see some gameplay at E3, I bet. So I guess that's my prediction. Gameplay of Breath of the Wild 2 at E3.
Okay.
So then, if Zelda's not this year, what do you think is like a holiday game this year? I have one that I was thinking of. Side-scrolling Mario. Like we got a new one of those.
You think a new Super Mario Brothers game?
Maybe it's not a new Super Mario Brothers, but like, you know, side-scrolling in the way those are side-scrolling. Maybe they call it a different tag, but you know,
I think
one.
Mario Maker filled that gap. I don't think there's anyone this year.
Could be, definitely could be. Although it is pretty similar to Mario Maker 1, how much time was put on it, I don't know. There's my prediction, like a side-scrolling Mario, because we just had Odyssey a couple years ago.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a port of Super Mario 3D World this year.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what the hell would be Nintendo's like big IP this year, because like what other major franchises have they not done yet? They've already done their Mario Kart, although they haven't done a new one.
They haven't done a new Mario Kart. Like that's an interesting one.
But I don't think they're going to do that with 8 Deluxe and Tour. Smash
Metroid
obviously
got pushed.
Yeah, Metroid got pushed. Smash has a DLC plan till next Christmas, like 2021 Christmas.
I mean, your choices are kind of like F-Zero, Star Fox.
Here's a better question.
I would love both of those, but it'll never happen.
What IP do they put onto the phones this year?
The next we'll go for next phone one. I don't know, because a lot of those still do a lot for them. So why would they? I was gonna say why would they make a sequel, but that's not what we're asking. What other one would they come out with?
I think next Nintendo game that gets an IP that gets a mobile game is a fresh one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't think of something kind of definitive for that, so I'm not gonna make a prediction there. But how about Bayonetta 3?
Oh yeah, that's been in work for a while. Hopefully that's like this year. Obviously, Animal Crossing's in 2 months. The hell else have they not put
Speaking
out?
of which, let's make a couple reception predictions, and I think we have quite a bit.
Yeah.
How do you think people take to Final Fantasy VII?
I think they'll like it. It's
think
what
so
I
too.
already played. It was really fun.
And what I heard coming out of E3, people seemed like they liked it. I bet people are happy with what they get from Final Fantasy VII Remake Episode 1.
Sure.
Um,
I agree with both of you. I'm just typing as I
Yeah.
go here.
I'm trying to just think of some other games that like might be decisive because like Cyberpunk. Thoughts on how people will receive Cyberpunk?
Well received.
Yeah, I think it's almost like too big to fail, especially coming from
I
the
kind
Witcher
of agree.
people who make big games that are good. Like that's just an easy one.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, those are my thoughts. Do you guys have any other thoughts for predictions to make?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the big stuff
Oh,
coming
any
out.
Blizzard stuff maybe?
No.
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 Like, I guess the only one was Overwatch 2. That we
Diablo
Yeah,
4?
and Diablo 4, but I don't think that's this year either.
No, God, no. What they showed was
I don't
like
think they have
alpha
anything.
stuff.
I don't think they have anything
basically.
new to release this year perfectly.
If they release
Alright,
something
well-
this year, it's probably Overwatch 2, and I kind of don't think they're going to. I'm trying to think of other stuff that's coming out that like we could talk about whether people like it or not. What games are even slotted for 2020? Like, not a whole lot have been
Doom.
announced.
Oh, here's a good one. Half-Life Alyx.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a good one to discuss.
Reception to Half-Life Alyx.
Good, but
I want to say people like it. I feel like if Valve is coming out with a game, they gotta feel pretty good about it, right? Otherwise, they would have canceled it.
yeah, I think it'll be good. I don't know if it's going to be the push that VR needs to make it like perfectly
Thi-
adapted, but
This
like,
is the second part of this question: is do you think this is worth getting VR for? In general,
I think
That's
some
so
people will.
subjective. Yeah, some people will for sure. Like,
so I'm gonna put
just
good,
the
not
prediction-
worth
the prediction
getting.
kind of like,
Yeah, this
do
is
you get a
subjective.
VR headset by this time next year? Do you own one?
Oh, okay. Why don't we put that down too?
Do either of you have one? John, do you have PlayStation?
I don't have any VR.
Okay. Like, does something
I-
this year make you want to get any of the headsets?
I've been debating getting one of them. I was gonna get like what was the newest one that Valve was pushing out?
Is it the Index? That's the one they keep talking about for Half-Life.
I
Yeah.
think that's the one. I think it was the Index I was gonna get, but it wasn't shippable to Canada at the time.
Or are you talking about the Oculus Quest?
No, I think it
No,
was.
he's
the
talking
Index.
about
I
the
think it was
Index. Yeah.
Okay, just because I know the Index is like $1,000 and the Quest is like 400, so I wasn't sure kind of what you were looking at. I was just are you looking at $1,000 VR headset?
Probably.
Oh, okay, all right,
It was an expensive boy.
yep, that's probably the Index then. Yeah, I guess make a prediction. There's also like rumors of like Sony doing a new version of the PSVR one to make it better now that they're not like, now that they actually have an install base.
Sure, makes sense.
So do either of you own a VR headset this time next year?
I'm gonna say yes because I almost did it twice without the means that would have been really irresponsible. So I
Okay.
was close.
Yeah, I'll probably end up with one as well.
You don't need to sound so sad about it.
Yeah. Last time I used VR, like I smacked my head against a desk. So
Oh god, that's no good.
All right, let's call it.
I think so.
Yep.
Awesome, we did it.
Yep. 3 hours.
2 hours and change later. I
Yep.
think it's about the same runtime as before.
Yeah, it's usually about 3 hours.
Oh wait, 3 hours. Okay, no, last time was like 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week with a normal episode with some news, what we've been playing, all that good stuff. Hope you enjoyed the celebration. Thanks to our patron fans for supporting and funding this podcast, basically.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't do questions this week, but if you want to send in questions for future episodes, it's topdownperspective@gmail.com, at TDP Podcast on Twitter, the Discord channel, or John's P.O. Box. I'll say it again, a couple weeks left. If you become a Patreon backer, you can get a sticker mailed out to you. So that's pretty exciting. I'm going to PAX South this weekend. If you happen to be there, feel free to say hi. I don't know. Those are my closing thoughts.
Yeah. Weird year, 2019.
Yeah.
Some good stuff came
And
out.
2020 is gonna be 2020 is gonna be weird as well because we got 2 new systems coming out.
Yeah. Man, 2020. I mean, that's probably why we have like no big news of games coming out yet, right? Because they're gonna want to announce the big stuff for lineup and probably for like next year. Gonna be an off year besides like the big ones that we already know about. Weird. All right, guys.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.